Chuffy 1 2. 1 2 check check Chuffy 1 2. Let's make sure this is working. 1 2 check check Chuffy 1 2. Yeah, I'll tell you what though, that music's a bit loud, isn't it? PlayStation music, you chuffer. Off. Quiet. So that's the quietest I can make it. I'll have to talk louder. 1 2 1 2 Chuffy 1 2. 1 2 check check. 1 2 check. 1 2 Chuffy 1 2. 1 2 check check. 1 2 check. Yeah, I think I can be. I'm barely audible above that din. Relaxing, that is. That's relaxing. Above that din, that's relaxing. Look, it's relaxing. It was relaxing the other day. Don't know why it's picked up all of a sudden. This one's got a beat as well, hasn't it? That's got a bit of a beat. Don't know why it's picked up all of a sudden. Rayman 3. That's alright. That'll do. That's nice and chilled. It's Mental Health Monday, 8 PM GMT. We're going to kick off in 8. It's like 1958 GMT now, so like 8, 9, 10. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. It's no stress. Well, that's the main thing, isn't it? Mental Health Monday, don't stress. I'll do this. Because you like this. 1 2 check Chuffy 1 2. 1 2 check Chuffy 1 2. Right, got you. All good in the hood. Tonight what we're doing is we are looking at Dr. K, Reckful, their conversations a little bit. We're looking a little bit about therapy online. Obviously what we do here on Mental Health Monday, this is our YouTube channel, Ganji Kids, and if you scroll down you've got Mental Health Monday Raw. We upload all the streams to Ganji Kid. And if you scroll further down, you've got Mental Health Monday as its own channel at the bottom there. Look, way, it's got its own channel. So I edit the things we do on Mental Health Monday and I upload them to the channel. Now, over the last few weeks, we did some cognitive behavioural therapy and I haven't edited and uploaded it to the channel. It's not because I'm lazy. It is a bit. There's more to it though. I'm a bit, you know me. Same old G, been low key, but it's a bit loud as well, isn't it? Look, it's a bit loud. It's nice and chill, but it's a bit. Is it loud? Is it just that it's loud? I've made it louder. Just quiet for me, please. Quiet. It's the first time I've used PlayStation music for the relaxing music and it's turning out to be quite loud. Just want the little, ambient, little quiet, little background music, please. Anyway, look, we've got our own channel, Mental Health Monday. I haven't uploaded the direct mental health, cognitive behavioural therapy stuff that we've been doing. And there's an ethical issue. Look, this one's got a beat as well. It's starting to do my head in. Stardew Valley. You know where you are with Stardew Valley. Yeah, get off my adverts. Get off my stream, you. You didn't pay to be on my stream. You know where you are with Stardew Valley. I know where I am with Stardew Valley. Alright. Fine. It's 8 o'clock now. I have to do the official introduction. So I'm glad that I've chuffed about for that little introduction time. Right, hi, you're with Scott. Hi, you're with Scott. It's Gravekipper. I'm Ganji Kid. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is your right ear. This is your left ear. And this is Mental Health Monday, 8 PM GMT, every Monday. Apart from the last two, because I wasn't feeling it. Honestly, because I wasn't actually, That's a different story. What's happening behind me, look, is the internet in all its glory going on just behind me. What do you mean the internet? That's the internet there. Well, it's a part of it, isn't it? It's a part of it. A place. It's a place. One of the places on the internet. Hi, nice to see you, Snippy Snips. Thank you for your tippy tips. Yeah, I'm back. I will briefly say, like, my metazapine, not taking the metazapine tablets, reducing the antidepressants, hit a point that made me feel bad, so I've had to increase them a little bit more again. And the first thing that I didn't feel like doing was streaming, and it's a progressive, like, it's not like an overnight process, so I'm back to feeling better. I nipped it in the bud, so to speak. Over the course of a year and a bit, I've gone down from 30 milligrams to 15 milligrams, went from 15 to 10 to 8, and that's the bit where it starts to really, and now I'm back up to 15 again. Going to go on that. I went too quick from 15 to 8, is what I'm saying. Anyway, everything's all right. It's not everything's not all right, is it? Mental Health Monday, that's what we're doing here. If you think, what's he doing chuffing? Why is he chuffing? Look, Lifeline, we always put this up. We always put the 1-800-273-8255. We always go web browser. We always put this stuff up. And Samaritans, that's a phone number there. 116-12343. For free sounds like I'm saying for, you know what I mean though. You know what I mean. Hang on, let me move chat. We always do that. And also we're advertising Mind today as well. We're going to get back to that in a minute though. Today what we're going to talk about is Dr. K and Reckful. Dr. K and Reckful. Reckful killed himself. He was a streamer and he killed himself. That's the headlines there. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into that. Look, Dr. K is offering mental health support online. So are we. There's a context to it though. Look, there's our Mental Health Monday. There's a context to it though, which is backed by the internet. The internet. Yeah, in terms of me, yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, I know what I'm doing, and I just trod close to the edge. So I didn't even think to myself, I'm going to tough this out, but it was probably, I'm here doing the streaming now, so that's the main thing. Me and my feelings is another story. This is a slightly bigger story, and this is what we're doing today. So I've said what I think about me, and here we are. Look, this is quite important actually, relating to me. One of the things is that Reckful's dead now, but Reckful, I used to play Hearthstone, and Reckful was a streamer, and I didn't watch him all the time. I wasn't the world's biggest Reckful fan. But he did these conversations with depression with Dr. K, and I found them quite impactful. I've said the word, haven't I? That's a word, isn't it? Impactful. So whilst I wasn't the world's biggest Reckful fan, I did watch him sometimes, mainly Hearthstone content, which he'd stopped doing by the time I was big into Hearthstone. He'd moved on from it almost. So I was aware of him more than I watched him all the time. But when he did this stuff with Dr. K, Dr. K is a streamer with a medical degree who helps people talk about mental health, talking depression with Reckful here. When he did that was quite impactful, and it was also during the COVID that it was quite impactful, I think, as well. And Reckful killed himself a year ago. Was it a year ago? Was it longer? I don't know. During the COVID. So it all ended badly, really, didn't it? So what we're going to talk about today is someone's made this video a month ago about Dr. K offering mental health support on the internet, and they're quite critical of Dr. K and his approach. Now, I'm going to do big face for a second, loads. I'll do big face for loads. I'm not so critical of Dr. K, but I think they're really interesting points to get raised in this video, so that's what we're going to talk about and react to. If you want to know more about the Reckful story, Reckful reacts to History of Reckful is a really good. This guy Slush made a nice, really good documentary about Reckful, Twitch's first big streamer, the history of Reckful. Maybe we'll watch it on stream together another time. And Reckful himself watched it and reacted to it, gave a director's cut commentary. So there's those two videos really, if you've not been introduced to Reckful, there's a really good introduction to them, to him and his content and his life and stuff. I'm not going to do all that, I'm not going to cover all that. Like I said, I was a bit of an interested was an interested viewer. I wasn't Reckful's biggest fan. I didn't dislike him. I wasn't his biggest, I wasn't watching him every day though, until later on in his streaming where I watched him more, and then that was the end. So it was really so talking about my mental health recently, when I feel depressed and sad, I watch more of Reckful in his later years. I look into these things more, I reflect on them more, and I look at the Dr. K videos. I watched this Talking Depression with Reckful. I watch these videos for support and for strength, so I find them helpful. I know that Reckful didn't manage to find whatever it was he needed to keep going in the end, but I found these videos helpful. I'm sure lots of other people did as well. They've got 1.6 million views, and I'm sure there's lots of comments on there about people who found them helpful. So when I saw this critique of it, I was a bit like, but it also covers this critique. Talking is the main thing, and Reckful was doing the talking here as well. We're going to come on to some big complex ideas about talking about it as well, because what we're doing here on Mental Health Monday is talking about it, isn't it? On Mental Health Monday we're talking about it, which is why we always put up Lifeline, the Samaritans. If at any point during this you feel you need more, here's Mind as well. Mind's a really good website with loads and loads of resources, because we often talk about therapy on Mental Health Monday, and we talk, like we've shown in previous episodes, what sort of goes on in the therapy, but we've been really clear not to say I'm a therapist or I can help you with things as a therapist. We're going to do I'm not doing that. I can't even broach the, I can't begin to do that myself on here. I've made that clear. But we did look at therapy, and I wanted to make it really clear there was some ethical conversations going on in my back of my head, which are really well covered by this video that we're going to react to today. So that's a sort of scene setter. But also, look, this is our place. This is another scene setter for today. So what's going on behind me is the internet. You've met the internet. Well, welcome to the internet. We don't need guides. The internet, all sorts of shenanigans going on, and organic and interesting, and over the years there's been loads of these sort of stories. This is our place. It's not the first time it's happened, but what our place is it's a big canvas. Look, all little pixels, and what do they make up? A big picture. Just a big picture. Can't get the zoom quite in the middle of that and that, but somewhere in the middle of that and that is the perfect aspect ratio that I can't seem to get. So no, it's a big picture. It's a big living picture. What do you mean living picture? How is this picture living? Well, if you look closely, you might see individual pixels change as I'm talking, because you can zoom into our place, and you might not like the way they put these pictures together. You might not like that, so you might want to change this pixel here, and you can log in and you can place that exact tile. This is somebody's account and they've posted that tile. That's who's responsible for that tile. I just clicked. So you can log in, you can place your tiles. It's a community effort, isn't it? Look, it's a community effort. If you're on Reddit and you're part of any particular, you'll see these changing on this red hair as I speak. You can see them. Or is that red hair? I don't know. It might not be hair. Maybe it's inappropriate for today's broadcast. You'll see the individual tiles changing as I speak, as individual people around the world get together and cooperatively change parts of this canvas to create pixel art. I love pixel art. I love the community cooperation in positive ways. Look, there's a Foo Fighters Taylor Hawkins one. That's lovely, isn't it? There's a lot of nationalism in the form of national flags, but there's also a lot of bronies. There's also a lot of it doesn't matter what, if it's on the internet, if it's an internet thing, if you're on Reddit talking about it, you're aware that place is going on. It's not the first time it's happened. It happened a while ago for the first time, so it's a bit of a repeat phenomenon, I would say. But there's Berserk. Look, there's Berserk. It's not being messed with, that is it? There's Berserk. Turkey. All sorts. So you get together as a community, maybe, and they have Asmongold, Mizkif. Asmongold and his community is responsible for get the aspects right. This is Total Biscuit, the lol face. This is Total Biscuit, and Asmongold and the community put that up there, organised together, put it up there. Good on them. And then down here in this bottom left corner, this duck on a seat here, that's in memory of Reckful. So it's kind of weird. Where am I? Zoomy. Space Duck. There's Space Duck Reckful. That's his gamer chair that he used to sit on in front of stream. So that's, they put that up in memory of Reckful. So this thing organically has been put up on April the 1st from Reddit. They're redoing the place. It's a unique phenomenon thing. Well, second time it's happened now. Unique phenomenon thing. It's interesting. It's the internet, isn't it? It's exactly what happens on the internet. You know, you get these sort of things. No one's in control. It's just going on, and yet organisation and art and cooperation flourish, and you know what I mean. It's exemplary of what goes on the internet in ways, isn't it? All in one big organic living picture. Memorials and comedies and favourites and memes all thrown in there together, yeah? All that sort of stuff. We happy with that? We're happy with that. There are some things on there I'm not happy with, but you know, I'm not changing them. There are some things on there I am really happy with, and I think, oh, that, you know, it gives me them feels. So yeah. And interestingly, Reckful got, you know, they popped the memorial in the same week that I'm thinking about all this other stuff. Don't know what that means. Don't know what that means, but so that's the scene. It's been set, isn't it? Our place. Well, not quite. There's one other thing I wanted to say before we get going and looking at this Dr. K. Sort of, we're going to be looking at how do you keep the foul stuff from being posted. Interestingly, this our place has been curated this time. I don't think they did curate it in the first time round, but I think this time some hate symbols have been curated off there. But I don't think they need to. And Asmongold did make the point that it would be healthier maybe to watch society erase it themselves. You know, if you're part of this, I'm not on Reddit all the time, you know, posting and talking to people, but you know, I'm sure there's more people with a positive vibe than there are racists. So someone wanting to just do something mean and spoil something gets overridden by the majority in this case. This is like an example of like the modern majority in a way, isn't it? Nationalism and horrible things. Even the nationalism is positive in a way, of celebrations of countries rather than you know, stomping out and we're the best and you're horrible. Everyone gets their own little space. Once you've sort of established it, people tend to leave it alone in ways. You know, there are wars. People fight for space on this. People fight, you know, we're going to invade your flag and way and well, hey. But in the main, you know, it's settled down into its own sort of stability in ways, hasn't it? In ways. Obviously, if you're Scotland, you've got fewer people there doing your flag than if you're part of the Union, there, Great Britain. But you know, depending on the number of people on Reddit, I suppose, isn't it? And something like Reckful's memorial and Total Biscuit, it's more of a Twitch thing than a nationalist thing, isn't it? Interestingly, which is a different community to the Reddit community, Twitch community. So, yeah, this is the internet. Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? It is cool. That's not the entirety of what we're doing tonight. We're going to do some more important, heavy-hitting stuff. But I'm trying to lighten the mood before we start. This is my Twitch, my Twitter. This is my Twitter, Scott Ganjikid at Informal Films. I copied someone posted this on the Reddit. Canada trying to draw a leaf. Look, that's their Canada flag. And Wales draw the whole dragon. And I tweeted it with, that's because weed's legal in Canada, not in Wales. That's because weed's legal in Canada, not in Wales. So Canada have trouble drawing their flag. You see what I've done? So if you want to retweet me, you can go over there and retweet me. Another tweet I did was about the Reckful thing, about this. Where is it? It's here. It's talking about how you're one little dot, right? This whole place thing, before we get into the heavy stuff, just Mental Health Monday, you know, just a little cheeky bit of Mental Health Monday to help drive this point home. This wouldn't work if individuals didn't go and put their own little pixels You know, if you want to make sure this lightsaber clash stays... Look, someone's got to go on there and change that pixel. Look, there's a black... Someone's changing it back. Change it back. Change it back. Fight for your little space. Or, you know, if you want to draw... anything. Any of these. You know, all these individual pixels count for something, don't they? Each individual pixel here counts for something. It might look like it's just a panel of green, but it's not. It's all individual pixels. They've all organised themselves. Let's go together. Let's do it together. And boom, let's put our thing up. How do I zoom out again? Zoom me out again. Individual little pixels. Piece of artwork. Big picture. Aston Villa there. How have Aston Villa got on there? Chuff off, 1874, 1875, mate, Birmingham City. Although we're both sides of the same coin. So Mental Health Monday, maybe I should be promoting, you know, the fact that football's kind of divides us in ways. Like, I wouldn't enjoy football if it wasn't for Aston Villa in the same way. So, you know, there's love going out there as well. You know, Among Us has infiltrated this guy's hairstyle. I don't know if you can see that. Look, these are all little Among Us people, are they? Am I not? I'm not tripping here, am I? Oh, I binned it off. Let's just zoom you out a bit. Look, see that? All those little Among Us people, and the hairdo. That's cheeky, isn't it? That's cheeky. So that exemplifies my point. So we're all individual little dots. I've done it on a tweet. When we work together, we become much more powerful, impressive, and important. Never forget that you matter. We don't do this alone. You'll be missed. And Reckful is missed, isn't he? I often reflect on how much, because I watch his content now back and think, you know, there was so much more to give. So Reckful is missed, and things go on, things continue, and sometimes you think you're insignificant and value less and have but you're part of this big tapestry, aren't you? You're part of this big thing. Your little dot makes a difference, and if you get together with people who, you know, help each other along and want to share common goals, then we can get important big things done, and you're really important and instrumental in that. You know what I mean? And also, nobody's more important than anyone else here, are they? Everyone's just one dot. You can probably put more than one dot in at a time after a period of time. I don't know the exact rules, but, you know, only one dot. And everyone's equal here, and they're creating examples of, you know, fantastic cooperation. So that's the point there, isn't it? That's something to take away from that. That's something to remember about that. That's Lifeline, that's the Samaritans. If you're struggling with things, this is Mind. And we're going to go on now to talk about, and it's an hour-long video, so I don't know how I'm going to make it through an hour-long video with me reacting as well. Probably going to skip some bits of it. Is that the magician guy from the 70s? I don't know. Don't embarrass me. Right, don't embarrass me, because a lot of this will be meme culture, and I will be scrolling past things that people will be saying, oh, that's that thing. That's that thing. That's that thing. I don't know all the memes. I don't know all of them. You know, if I scrolled past your particular favourite thing here, then I'm sorry if I haven't picked it out. I'm sure there are some really, you know, culturally relevant things that I'm embarrassing myself. Is that Studio Ghibli? I can't even pronounce it, because I always read it off the thing, but I never say it out loud in the world. You know, I'm probably scrolling past things that... This is not there's Magic Gathering. Look, this is not... don't get distracted by this now. It's so... Look, there's a Bidoof. There's a Bidoof. So that's good. But that's enough of that now. Look, we're going to get serious. Reckful killed himself. It is serious. It's hard for me to stay depressive when I'm on the internet talking to you, but Reckful spelled is we're never going to get... We don't have the community pool to put something up there. I'm part of a Reckful tribute, so I'm happy with that. Happy with that. So, yeah, I've got to be clear as well before we go on with this any further. I'm not like, you know, I say this every time. I'm going to laugh, I'm going to joke, I'm going to be myself. I've over the last couple of weeks, I felt really quite depressed and a bit sad. Haven't sat on the internet talking about it like overtly. Didn't come to Mental Health Monday to present because I didn't feel I could present. So Reckful used to spend more time on the internet overtly. He used to turn on the computer. You know, he's one of those old school, hardcore, old school streamers that would turn on the computer. I'm on for the day, you know, that sort of thing. Not quite like me. So I respect him, and it was, you know, there's this level of like obviously real tragedy, but then at the same time when you talk about him, you've got to remember the joy and the positivity. And you know, for me to just be like all morbid for the whole stream because it's Mental Health Monday and Reckful killed himself, I also want to remember that he was a, you know, brilliant shining light. So I'm going to continue to just be myself, and if it makes me feel particularly sad, I've already watched these things. I've already prepared myself for what I'm about to do. So I don't think I'm going to have these overwhelming emotional responses like I have this last couple of weeks when I've been thinking about it. But it all just seems to be coming together like this. This is the way it is going. So let's do it. God, Jesus. You and your adverts. That horrible flesh, animal flesh. Ugh. Why are you advertising that to me, you idiot? I'm a vegan. I ain't going to be going for that. There's just no way. You haven't picked that up on my signals through my use of the internet, haven't you? Right. So I need to be really careful here as well. Like I said, the context here is not just the Reckful story, which if you want to see it, look at Reckful reacting to his own story, and then come back to us. It's not just that context. This is also somebody's making a dig at Dr. K. Right, they're making a case against Dr. K, sort of saying that Dr. K has been unethical, reckless, they claim. And, you know, reckless is a clever pun, so I get it. I can see why you're using that word. But also, they're building a case, and they're making really important points. Now, they're a bit harsh in the way they do that, and that's fair for them to have their opinions. This is a video made by Mr. Girl. Mr. Girl, I haven't watched all of their content. I'm not rating them. I'm not slating them. I'm just saying this is what they've done. And it's fair for them to make their edit in this way because they're making their case. They also get some testimony from really interesting people. So we're going to look at and review that. But what I think it's important to say is this Talking Depression with Reckful was a video series. Like there were like 4 or 5 episodes, were there? Part 3, part 4. I mean, and Reckful talked about it in other contexts. And it was, you know, it's if you want to edit that, what is it, like 10 hours of content, if you want to edit between Reckful and Dr. K, between them and their conversations and Reckful's reflections on it, like if you want to edit that 10 hours of content, you could make it look quite different in different ways. I'm sure experienced editors could make it look like Dr. K was the best person in the world, and experienced editors could pick out bits and make it look like Dr. K was totally heartless, just in it for himself and the money. So I'm not saying these things. Remember, the context is that I think these videos have been really helpful for me. I don't know, and I'm going to go on to understand how they may have been dangerous and damaging for Reckful himself, for Byron himself. And it's really interesting because we are presenting mental health support on the internet. We've covered therapy a little bit. I haven't put the edits of the therapy session things onto the internet because these are all concerns I have. This is all concerns that I have. So it's really important to talk about this and have a good look. Dr. K's got such kind of, yeah, you see, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. And I also understand, though, I totally also understand, because they're going to make the case, remember? They're going to make the case that he's also got other ulterior motives. Now, I totally understand that he does. He's doing a YouTube show, a Twitch show for views. He's not offering therapy. I think he always makes it clear that he's not offering therapy, but lines get blurred. Let's have a look. So with that said,
Dr. Kanoja,
they're going to present, this is the edit that's going to make Dr. K look bad. This is the edit that makes him, that's what they've done here. So we'll watch a bit of it. We'll look more at these experts giving their testimony and the other bits with some other streamers. You know, when it gets to 50 minutes in, I might be having to think about how to shorten this down or maybe do it another time. But I do want to get suicide prevention in. I do want to get that in there, because that's an important part. So let's just see what we do. Let's just see how we go.
it's really cool. He helps gamers on stream. I'd love to see you have a conversation with him. He's starting nowish. Yeah, I would talk to him. That sounds interesting. Should I try to talk to him right now?
Who is Reckful?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, sure. We can talk to Reckful. So tell
That's
me,
interesting.
what are we talking about today, buddy?
Well,
And what am I
was-
calling you Reckful?
You can call me Byron if you want.
What do you
But
prefer?
yeah, I've dealt with depression my whole life, pretty much. I mean, since I was like 14, and I'm 30
Okay.
now.
Okay.
And a bunch of people in my chat were telling me I should call you.
Okay.
So here I am.
So there's no commentary offered for this, but we know this is the sort of process that happens with Dr. K and Twitch in general, is that people get introduced to each other through the media. You know, he's heard of him, someone in chat said about it, they've ended up talking on stream. We don't know if they talked off stream beforehand, how much they talked off stream beforehand. Maybe Dr. K wants to keep it fresh. We don't know that sort of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I'm going to take comments as I try and use my brain. But yeah, I think exactly, I agree with that. And I don't think that, I'm not saying that this is Dr. K's fault, what happened to Reckful, but I do think there are some important points that come up. And I think that, well, I might as well state this now. My personal opinion is that Dr. K is the person who came closest to saving Byron. Like, he's the person that came closest to saving him. And that, we will see about this really difficult grey area. That closeness means that people point the fingers at him in a way because you were close to him. Did you push him, or you know, like, you know, I mean, there's that sort of grey area comes in. But I also think he was closest to saving him, and it's a real shame that he didn't or couldn't or what have you. But this is what's none of us are able to sort of get inside someone else's head and, you know, control or change or do. We can try our best to help. That's what we can do. We can try our best to help. So none of us should ever feel guilty about these things. Certainly not the people who are close and trying to help. And for that, then after the event, to be pointing the finger at Dr. K and say, well, maybe you're the problem. Well, it's, you know, it's hard because how many people around Byron were trying to help, and if the person that was trying to help, but you're pointing the finger at and saying you're the, you know, that's harsh on the person trying to help, isn't it? It's harsh on the person trying to help. So that's kind of how I feel. But there are different facets to this story as well. And like I said as well, Dr. K, he's in this complex world of Twitch, with streamers talking to him. He doesn't know people. He can't see inside their heads. When things get deep, he does his best. And he knows that he's overtly not, he's saying, I'm not offering therapy over the internet. I'm not doing that. But what's really important as well is that there's a lack of mental health support. I should have contexted what we're doing today. You know, Lifeline, Samaritan's Mind. There's a lack of mental health support. Right now, if I search mental health, a story will come up about people not being able to get the mental health support they need. Mental health. If I just type that, a story will come up about people not being able to get the mental health support they need. First one, swamped NHS mental health services, turning away children, say GPs. There you go. Staff knew mental health patients ran away, claims father of man killed by train. That's a bit different. The Telegraph asks, are treatments doing more harm than good? Overwhelmed NHS turns away anxious children. So this is a big story then that's been going on in the last day. I mean, I should have maybe searched mental health. Obviously, you can see I haven't even clicked these. These have not changed colour. I should have maybe searched it today before I did today's. I've already prepared today's episode, but like, that's what goes on every time I search it, you know, before our episodes. So I guarantee that we're not getting people to the support they need. That's why mine's so important. That's why these other things are so important. These voluntary sort of things. So there's that. That's why this music's kind of inappropriate, but we'll just roll with it. And yeah, so I think someone like Dr. K is trying to do something good on the internet. Obviously, I respect Dr. K. I watched his work and said, you know what, like, we can talk about mental health on the internet every Monday, can't we? Dr. K is a good example for me. I'm not a mental health trained, you know, I didn't go to Harvard, so and I'm not offering 2-hour sessions direct one-to-one. So the guilt of losing someone to suicide is laid in the spouse or best friend, and it would weigh very heavily on the therapist too. Yeah, and especially in this circumstance where, is it a therapist? That's the whole context of the conversation. Is it therapy or are you just a friend? And can you be both? Should you be either? And and for all of us who want to help people, and we're not like I said, we're not a therapy channel. We're not a we don't have a certificate. We're just trying to do our best. And if it's difficult for Dr. K, then God, like, you know, that's a shame because that's someone that I admire. So let's see what happens.
And by the way, so a couple of ground rules. So I'm a psychiatrist, but I can't treat your depression over the internet,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Gotcha.
And then the other thing is I tend to ask a lot of questions. If there's anything that you don't feel comfortable answering, just don't answer it. And just let me know.
Okay.
So tell me, what do you mean by depression? Let's start there.
Well, I've been diagnosed with bipolar type 2.
Ah,
And when I was 6, my brother killed himself. He also had it.
how old was he?
He was 21. It's a very big age gap.
Okay.
So immediately there's some big red flags here because Reckful describes serious conditions, not like, you know, I've been feeling... Of course, if you've been feeling down, it is serious. Of course, I'm not trying to make light of anything, but he's not saying that for example, he's had successes and failures in his life in the world of computer game, professional esports, and he's not saying, you know, this thing's been making me feel down about World of Warcraft or anything. Nothing trivial. He's coming in with something that not that needs to be if it's making you feel down, it's not trivial. That's a fair thing for me to say, isn't it? But what I'm saying is, he's coming straight in with some real serious things that, as a mental health professional, Dr. K should recognise and say, hang on, like, are you in therapy? Have you seen therapy? I'm not going to be able to... it's going to be very difficult for the therapist to dig around in this area online, in front of everyone, and not cause you to worry and think about things that need careful handling in a one-to-one situation, in a therapy situation. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's important that it's come up like that. But he's also said, I'm not a therapist. I'm not offering you therapy. This is the internet. You're online all the time. Reckful's the old school original streamers. He's online the whole day. If you want to talk your feelings online in front of everyone, I'm here to talk your feelings online in front of everyone. How do you feel about that? And then he's coming with like, well, I've got these really serious problems. And the doctor's, yeah, you know, you knew that before you came online, didn't you? That's why you are here talking to me. So maybe that's what you want to talk about. So it's hard. You know, the arena is modern, isn't it? The arena's modern. The arena's modern. It's Twitch. It's happening. It's fluid. You're online. You're saying these things. I'm trying to think about if I'm Dr. K and how I would respond. I don't think you want to cut it there. All right, let's cut it there. Then Reckful's touched on something that's really serious. I'm going to have to talk to him offline for hours before we can go any further. Did they talk offline before this for hours? I don't know. So, you know.
Okay.
And then because of that, when I've gone to get treated, they never give me SSRIs. I've never tried an SSRI because he's tried an SSRI and then that happened after.
Okay. So let me ask you. Okay, now we're gonna get weird, Reckful. Do you believe that life? What do you think of? What's your sense of like what life is?
I'm an organism that came to be from two other organisms who
Sure.
liked each other enough to
Have a child.
have a baby.
Yeah. So
And
what does that mean? Like, what do you think about your life? Like, what's the like? Do you feel like your life has purpose?
Most of the time, no, but recently I've started to think yes because I realize I can start trying to help other people who have had my same problems so I relate to them. And then I hope by making this game I'm working on that they can find friendship and a sense of community because I'm making an MMO.
Reality actually exists as a probability. Like, reality is not static, in that the act of observation causes a probability to collapse into a reality.
I mean, I don't really know exactly what you said there, but what is obvious is that they're having deep conversations, but they're not doing a direct one-to-one therapy. You know, he's not said... this is heavily edited, isn't it? It's heavily edited. But what I remember taking from it as well is these are deep conversations that talk about feelings and important things. But I didn't get the sense that Dr. K was sort of saying to him, okay, lie on the couch, tell me your, you know, like he's brought up the suicide and stuff like that. Dr. K hasn't tried to doctor him on that front, if you know what I mean. He's maintained a sort of like a conversational level, keeping it in a place that's not too deep and dark. He does get to some important places, some really emotional places in these conversations. That's why they're so important and impactful. But I get, I remember watching it and thinking, like I said at the very start, oh, that's quite heavy. And Dr. K has not sort of, right, here we go. Right, there we go. He's talked about, there's a ding, that's going to get some views, that's buzzword. Let's get the shovel out and start digging in that. He's been quite careful with him in the conversation in general, I think. And Dr. K is doing the important work of educating the audience by getting Reckful to express how it feels to be him. This reaches other than that's the main thing, isn't it? That's the main thing. So, and I think it's important as well to note that Reckful knows that as well, doesn't he? Right, I'm pretty sure that Reckful was coming into this knowing that he's going to get... For Reckful, you get to talk to someone who's knowledgeable on the mental health field. You get to share your story. But I hope not. I mean, I don't know. But I hope, and I understand that he's Byron is a very intelligent person. I don't know if you would hope that this is going to be, me and this therapist fix my mental health. Brilliant. I don't know if that's what people go into this for. I think they are more likely just realising that they're going to talk about it. It's going to open up some subjects. It's going to lead them down some paths, and who knows where it goes, but it doesn't get fixed overnight on the internet.
Okay.
Like the world exists as a probability waveform, and when you observe something, that probability disappears and it becomes a reality. When your depression acts up, and I want you to understand that depression is like a pattern of thinking within your mind, it takes the things that you know and distorts them. So it takes the fact, it hijacks this idea that that the world is like not a real place in some sense. And then it sort of makes you feel like there's no purpose because nothing is real. But let's talk a little bit more about depression today. So tell me what your experience of depression is.
Okay, it's very hard to explain. The easiest way to explain is I've had years of my life like this where I wake up every day and I don't see a purpose to doing anything.
Okay.
I don't see a purpose to getting out of bed. I don't care if I stream or don't, or if I go eat or don't. At some point I get really hungry and I'm like, okay, I guess I have, like, I feel like it forces me to kind of,
Yeah.
But I don't really care one way or the other. And then I start to think I don't care when I go to sleep, I don't care if I wake up. I'd prefer not to. Actually, the sleeping was the most peaceful part of my day.
Okay. And how long would this stretch last?
Years.
Okay. So I think this is a
okay.
really common misconception. I think you're
Obviously heavily edited, isn't it? But helps turn a light on in the brain for the pick yourself. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Pull yourself up out the sea by your own hair. It's heavily edited, isn't it? But they're setting the scene here, I guess.
You may have clinical depression, but I think what you're describing is not clinical depression. So I'm going to explain to you guys what clinical depression is.
This is important, actually, because this is part of the tear down of Dr. K. When you're hearing and talking to a therapist, you're probably thinking, well, he's telling me I haven't got depression or I have got depression. What Dr. K is actually doing is saying, look, we've had a conversation about depression. This is a jumping off point for me to tell you some stuff that I've learned about the mental health world in my doctoring, in my Harvard degree. This is like a teaching moment for the Harvard degree knowledge. So what you described is XYZ, and XYZ in most common thing, let's get the page from the textbook out and let's talk about it. We've gone away from you, Reckful, Byron, and your specifics, and we've gone into the world of generalities, teaching moments, something we could talk about on stream, a little teach. We've gone on a little bit of a tangent. However, to Byron, I think this feels like the bit where we're getting to the core of you, Byron. You think it's depression, but it's actually this thing. And if we can name it and put a pin in it and a flag in it, then we can cure you of it. So Byron here is listening intently. But actually, he should be maybe saying, this is the bit I should take with a pinch of salt. Because this is the bit where we're going to start to talk in more generalities about things, teaching moments, ideas. The specific bit to me and my heart, the therapy edge of it, we're going away from here. But what Byron, I think, really needs, and maybe Dr. K is doing him a little disservice here in not noticing this, but I believe he does. As we watch the rest of this, we'll see that I believe he does notice this. But Reckful does need, an actual therapist, as well as talking about his feelings online. He actually needs an actual therapist, doesn't he? So people are complicated. You can have multiple things going on outside depression, and you can have depression. He does a great job of passing that out. I think that's a good point. Yeah, and I think this is the part of what Dr. K is trying to do here as well, isn't it? It's that he's trying to say, look, in generalities, this is what people feel. We've talked about you and your feelings, Reckful, but here's it for everyone. It's an interesting, but watch, this is the part of the case they make up as to why it's dangerous for someone to take too much stock in mental health support on the internet, says the man offering mental health support on the internet.
I think your problem is that your life is empty. That's different. And in fact, that's what we were going to talk to the other person about today, and we will. So I got a bunch of questions about this because...
Wait, so you're saying you think I was diagnosed incorrectly when they said I have bipolar?
You may have depression on top of that, but what I want you to understand is that there are different flavors of depression. One of them is a biological, organic, neurochemical kind of thing. And what I'm hearing but there are certain features of that you don't really fit that bill. So I'm going to describe what that is. So you may be depressed on top of being unhappy or having a life without purpose. But those are two independent things. So tell me a little bit about, so it doesn't sound like I'm not...
Heavily cut now again, haven't we? We've jumped again. I remember these being really deep and interesting conversations. We've jumped because we're making points here, aren't we? The point we're trying to make here is that, I say we, the maker of this video, Mr. Girl, he's talking about Ikigai. I think Ikigai is a common problem outside of being depressed. That's like a Japanese word for life purpose, I'm guessing. Yeah. We're talking in general terms, aren't we? And he's saying you are describing these things. You have described not having a life purpose and not. But when we get to know Reckful and his story deeper, we know that he is actually depressed. He actually is. So whether he's describing it correctly over this Twitch chat or not, and the way that it's gone in, I think as well, Dr. K has said he's got another guest lined up and they're going to talk about this feature of not having life purpose. So maybe Dr. K's pushed it in this direction. And, what we're saying, what we're worried about is this damaging Byron? Is this sort of getting Byron's hopes up that he might be finding some cosmic truth about his depression? And actually, we're telling him, you're not as, they might have got it wrong. He's confused now. He's confusing him.
Hearing anything about depression when you were in high school. You said 14, but you're not describing anything to me that...
Oh, yeah. No, because it's hard for me to really dig deep and remember. I mean, I remember I listened to a lot of sad music. I was idolizing a lot of people who killed... I was idolizing a lot of people who killed themselves at the time, because I was listening to Nirvana and then Elliott Smith and then, I don't know, a bunch of other... I can't remember. But... I
mean, it sounds like you were emo.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I know. I was, but the lyrics were very relatable to me.
I'm.
Dr. K was making jokes there. Sounds like you're a bit emo, haha. But remember, he's talked to a lot of streamers, Dr. K, and there's a lot of streamers and stuff like that. He doesn't know Reckful's history and his past and the depth of his feeling and his emotions. Reckful's trying to almost justify his depression here, I feel, and it looks like Dr. K is brushing it off, and that's not a good look for a therapist, is it? But this is in the midst of a bigger conversation that they've been having that's taken 2.5 hours but then went on to take longer and longer. I think it's okay if not a therapist doesn't read the depth of the depression of not a client across a Zoom call presented as a jumping off point to talk about conversational topics. I think that's okay for Dr. K to behave like that. I think one of the problems in this video critique, but this is all big conversation jumping off points that we're having, which is great. And we're in this ballpark, remember. We haven't uploaded our therapy videos, our cognitive behavioral therapy walkthrough. We haven't uploaded that to YouTube because we're thinking about these ideas. So he probably felt a connection to those artists. Cause yeah, exactly. And when he's talking, Reckful now becomes those artists for me. It's so there's a romance in it sounds terrible on Mental Health Monday for me to say this, that if you're feeling suicidal, Lifeline, Samaritans, there's no romance in suicide. It's just terrible. The people behind are left feeling bad and you are not here anymore, and it's look at these things before you do that, of course. Absolutely. You know, we talk a lot. You know, this is not it is an episode about suicide, but it's more than that, this episode. So I'm just gonna, you know, bump those again, and carry on saying what I'm saying. And I've sort of forgotten what I'm saying, haven't I? Yeah, Reckful. Oh, that's it. Reckful becomes those artists. Ian Curtis, Joy Division, Kurt Cobain, Nirvana. You know, name your favourite rock and roll superstar who is no longer with us because they burned their candle at both ends. And yeah, you'll feel that kinship. The goth thing we talked about, you know, the other day. It's all those things, isn't it? It's all those things. Yeah, Reckful ends up in that legends category of gone too soon, burned too bright, had so much to give. I mean, I haven't talked so much about his career in streaming, but he did a lot of like, he's the reason we have donations on stream. He's the reason that I can't remember listening to Stardew Valley in the background. He'd probably find it funny. He's the reason that a lot. Well, IRL streaming. I think he invented IRL streaming. Anyway, yeah, he enters that realm of legends, that romantic realm of legends. But there's these ideas. You know, you talk about these ideas, these romantic ideas, but the realities are not so romantic either. The realities are not romantic. So it's an interesting. We should do an episode about that. It's just an idea that's come up now while we're talking about it. Let's push on because we need to. Where's my video? Oh, this is it. This is the one. Yeah.
Kind of digging around, and you're not expected. Like, I don't remember much about when I was 14. Like, you know, people don't really remember much about when they're 14, and that's
Right.
okay. It's just I'm trying to figure out where the money is, and it's sounding like it's
Okay,
not
so when I was 16, I tried to kill myself.
okay.
So when I was 16,
You can actually register that Dr. K seems visibly shocked by that. You know, so he's learning as he's going, as he's interviewing this streamer live on the internet.
Do you
took 22 sleeping pills, and I drank a bottle of wine, and I tied a plastic bag over my head, and I fell asleep, and I just woke up later, and I had ripped the bag off my head, and I was alive. And what were you gonna ask?
do you remember what you were feeling when you tried to kill yourself?
It was really dumb. There was a game I was playing called Asheron's Call from when I was 10. It started dying because of World of Warcraft, and no one else was on to play anymore. And I felt like the only thing I cared about and the only thing I'd practiced my whole life and really loved was irrelevant.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I mean, not great, but I think I'm starting to see a pattern. Okay, and why are you finding purpose again? What do you like about what you're doing?
I like that I'm trying to give people something I wanted as a kid.
Who's the focus on? Who are you thinking about?
Just people haven't experienced what I did.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, Reckful. Listen carefully now. Your depression, you're trying to cure the depression that is growing within kids out there today. You're trying to protect them from what happened to you.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
That feels good.
Yeah.
Right, in this moment, what's happening is that they've been through a really long conversation about stuff, and Reckful has opened up about these traumas in his life, and he's creating a computer game at the time, and it's like got all these other ideas in it about getting on with people, being an MMO without ranking and leveling up, and there's all these anyway. And Dr. K sort of brought out this idea that he's done this noble thing in doing that, and Dr. K is trying to give him or help him to achieve a sense of purpose, like we were talking about earlier. So Dr. K is trying to do a good thing. He's just doing it as a human. Remember at the start he said it's not therapy, and that this isn't therapy. Now Reckful's crying. It's an emotional thing. It's a big moment on stream. It was a big moment for most of us that watch this. You know, I am now being presented it as evidence that Dr. K is being in some way negligent of Reckful and his feelings, and using him as, you know, fodder for a good stream, but actually pushing him into some pretty emotional places.
Feels meaningful, yeah.
Good is an understatement. It's the understatement of the fucking year. It is vital. It is crucial. You must do this thing.
Yeah, I agree with you, yeah.
Yeah. So I started streaming about 2.5 months ago. And, you know, was advised against doing that by a lot of people in, like, many of my colleagues and stuff like that, because, I can get sued and all that good stuff, and talk to attorneys and things like that. So hopefully I don't get sued, because I'm not really delivering medical care. But, you know, what happens if someone comes on stream and then kills themselves or something like that? I mean, I think at the end of...
I'll try not to kill myself anytime soon for you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm serious.
Byron is not joking there. He's talking seriously. He's joking in the way that people who think about suicide joke, because he's reflected on it seriously. He's smiling because he feels that this has been a positive interaction for him. This is at the end of their conversation. Dr. K is being over and honest about his intentions to develop a streaming career. He's chosen that over a medical practice behind closed doors. He's stated again he's not doing therapy, and there's a legal implication for that. It's an interesting conversation, isn't it, between two people?
Serious. I think that's...
Yeah, no problem. I actually I'm not. I haven't thought about killing myself since psilocybin, I think.
Yeah. I believe that. If you do happen to have those thoughts again, feel free to reach out. You have my Discord.
How often?
Oh, little advert, you chuffer. Thank you.
PA commentary on ethics and practice. The ethical and professional basis of the physician-patient relationship. The physician-patient relationship is a collaborative endeavor between two autonomous individuals who establish the professional relationship for the benefit of the patient.
And this is all heavy stuff, and therapy rips you wide open. Dr. K is being honest about that to his audience. Yeah, absolutely. And they're not even, delving into the... I'm sure Dr. K understands this aspect of things. That's what he said about talking to lawyers and stuff. And it's difficult because he's not actually being, he's being careful not to be in a physician-patient relationship. He's being careful not to be in that position because he's not charging these people. He's talking about things online. We've talked about those aspects of it, haven't we? This is what's coming up here. So.
Every effort should be made to have the relationship begin.
And it's interesting. I'm not trying to defend Dr. K. I'm just telling it how I feel it because I just watch these things go down. And this is bringing up some really interesting points about what we do as Mental Health Monday. So
Begin by mutual consent. Psychiatrists should be cautious in interactions with persons who are not, or not yet, patients to avoid rendering input, advice, or other suggestions that might lead to the assumption or expectation that a treatment relationship has begun.
I believe that that kind of relationship starts off right in the beginning with what I call a contract. And a contract is establishing what we're going to do, where we're going to do it, and why we're going to do it. And to do that, it means that the individual is saying to the therapist, this is what I need, this is what I'd like to have. And the therapist says, this is what I can provide.
Absolutely, this is absolutely true. If I remember, I've been to a therapy session, the very first one, where somebody, literally laid these things out and said, like, we're going to make a sort of verbal contract. What is it you'd like to achieve? I'll tell you if I can actually achieve that with you before we sit down for hours and hours of talking. I'll explain the process and how it works, and I'll explain what I won't be able to achieve and what I won't be doing with you, just so you don't get your hopes up, sort of thing. Yeah, I think that's really true. Absolutely.
And if that's a contract, we can go. They may want the therapist to fix the problem. They may want advice. They may want pain relief. And those are not essentially aspects of therapy. Therapy is to hold up a mirror to the client and have them see themselves and then consider options for parts of their life that they would like to change. It is the job of the therapist to be crystal clear and to have their boundaries established. And the one thing that is paramount with therapists and professionals is to do no harm.
So I agree with that as well. And I think that Dr. K has, because we've only watched the edited version, but I think we'll all agree he was crystal clear. This is not therapy. I'm not offering therapy, I'm not doing therapy. The lawyers would have problems with us doing it if it was therapy. I think he was quite clear about that in the start, wasn't he?
Many people come in and they are not clear on boundaries. They're not clear on maybe exactly what they need, and that needs to be worked out in the process. If you provide confusion to the client, then you are causing harm. There is a problem with using therapy skills outside of the therapeutic process, because those skills are designed to have people open up to intimate parts of themselves. Things that may not have been mentioned to anyone else, including marriage partners or intimate partners. The individual that is not the therapist is often just answering and being engaging in the conversation, and they often do not realize when they have gone into a realm that is very exposed and vulnerable.
This is a really good point. The therapist has those skills to open you up, like you said, and that therapy opens you up, and that's going to be open to the audience. It's a very good point. He's sort of saying that, if you're chatting to somebody off the clock, if they're a therapist and you're chatting to them off the clock, in this context on the internet, the therapist can use their skills to get things out of you, to open you up, to make you talk about things that would leave you quite vulnerable and exposed. And that the therapist has those skills. Well, this is the same as an interviewer. A good interviewer having the skill to open somebody up. Is it ethical to open them up, to leave them, what we used to do, I remember, because we used to interview. I've done some interviews for proper media products. And it's important to say to people, their consent is important. We make them sign the form to say that, anything you say on this thing, we're going to use it for our bit of filming. So, yeah. And sometimes people say, I don't want to sign that film until we've done the interview because I don't know what I'm going to say. And I think to myself, well, don't say it. Like, you've got your brain. If you don't want to say something, don't say it. I don't know what I'm going to say. Well, think about what you're going to say and then say it. Like, if you're worried about what you're going to say, don't say. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, the interviewer can ask the questions. If you think, I don't like that, how that's going to come out on camera, don't say it on camera. Maybe. Quite often people are a bit worried about that. That sort of who's got the right to control what you've said and what you've done on the camera. What really happens is that we film it. You say what you say. You sign your form. We go away. Reckful made it clear his motivation was to help people. Dr. K's facilitating that. Yeah, absolutely. And he makes it clear that he doesn't have to talk about anything he feels uncomfortable with. Absolutely. What this guy's also saying, and I kind of agree, is that any skill that you have to open somebody up, used in this context, we're saying it's now an interview, but he's saying you're secretly a therapist in the interview. Well, it's kind of fair to not have skills, isn't it? It's kind of fair to just have skills in life, and you can't say to Dr. K, well, take your therapist hat off, stop thinking like a therapist. If something comes up in conversation and it's therapy-esque, don't say that. Go somewhere else. He's just going to have the thoughts he naturally has because of the learning he's got, and this is the danger. I suppose they're going to suggest that if you've got a therapist friend and you're always asking them for their opinion, they're not doing therapy, but they might have opinions, and you're going to take their opinions like that's the doctor said that, but actually it might just be just something someone thought.
And you do not want to go into those areas outside of the therapeutic process, or once again, you can do harm. It's a little bit, the medical equivalent would be to provide some kind of service, a medication, or even a procedure without the beginning and the end and the ability to follow up, and that can cause damage.
The two biggest things I can think of are, number one, it can set up.
I mean, I agree with that. You've got to accept that. If you're sort of jumping into a bit of a therapy thing and then jumping out of it and then see ya, bye, hope you survive and do all right. Yeah, absolutely. But you'd hope that Dr. K would be providing resources, here's mind, mental health support, would be providing resources behind the scenes. We don't know what Dr. K has and hasn't said to Reckful behind the scenes, but a lot of this assumes everything that's been online has been said and anything behind the scenes doesn't exist. But this is important though, isn't it? It's important to realise that you can't just offer somebody a bit of a lifeline and then not follow up and not have anything. So that's why here on Mental Health Monday we point you towards mind, Do you know what I mean? We point you towards something else. On these other specific videos, hopefully we've found and discovered some... Where am I again? On specific videos, hopefully we've discovered some specific, like, epic Irish advocates for care. That's a very specific thing that we found to help somebody. So, you know, we look at these things and try and guide people on. But we don't say here at Mental Health Monday, come here, stay here, I've got all the answers. And hopefully people don't, you know, feel abandoned or left exposed after watching a few of our videos. Hopefully there's some depth there. But, you know, I would like to get people on to talk about mental health issues maybe. People have suggested it. But then are we entering into this realm of getting people to open up and then abandoning them? Should I have more ethical concern about how we do that? Should Dr. K, you know? We are such having coffee.
A dynamic where the client feels obligated to take care of the therapist, not unlike an unwell parent obligating a child to take care of them. And I think most people can agree that a parent who obligates their kid to take care of helping the person who they're...
She makes a point here about helping people. It's not quite valid for what we're talking about, so I'd skip that.
Putting their kid in a role that they're not. And when that happens, I have to be really careful to say, you know, I haven't to not opinion on something from a therapist point of view. And when that happens, I have to be really careful to say, you know, I haven't to not comment on things that I don't know anything about, because I could potentially be doing harm to that person or whoever. I don't know what they're going to do with that information. I'm thinking about one instance where a young woman shared some things with me while I was on an airport shuttle bus. And she kind of just opened up and spilled about a bunch of things that she was going through. And I do think as therapists, sometimes people come to us with things. My response was much more to encourage her to go seek therapy, partially to respect that boundary that we're talking about, which is in a gentle way saying, well, this isn't therapy. Kind of saying, you know, have you looked into getting a therapist? You should, you know, that might be something you should find somebody to work through or talk through. So it was very clear that I was not that. And part of the boundary that was set was to refer her to therapy.
That's a really good and important point as well, isn't it? You have to refer them to a therapist and to make clear that you are not the therapist. Yeah. I mean, it's clear on here that I'm not the therapist. And that's what was just going on about, referring people, isn't it? I don't have a therapist to refer people to. There's probably a massive queue that you can't get into. So we're trying to refer people to other avenues. And this is where Dr. K comes in, is he's another person that I refer people to, you know, go and look at his content. I haven't directly on our channel yet, because this has been bubbling up in the background in my mind. But, you know, I would refer to people to say, have you watched Dr. K? Have you thought about his loss? Read the word out there because I said it. Have you thought about his video on grief, for example? So this is people organically trying to help, trying to pick up the slack because there's not enough therapy spaces for everyone in society on the NHS. That's what this is. That's what this is. That's what this is. So it's very difficult then when Dr. K is on the internet doing his talk show and someone says, I've got these serious mental health problems. I remember Dr. K saying, you need a therapist. And also, I do understand that he can't then say, right, time to shut down tonight's episode because someone said something really serious and it's crossed this barrier. They're going to get funny ideas about whether I'm therapizing them, whether I'm their therapist, and I need to sort that. Maybe he should, because these people matter. You know, these people matter. But they are aware of the nature of the show before they call in, if you know what I mean. It is a grey area. It is a grey area.
If I start to notice that person is having like an emotional reaction to what's...
This is really interesting as well, what you said here. As a non-therapist, you can still offer an ear, don't be afraid to be present for someone. Absolutely. I think what's strange about this is as a non-therapist, none of this counts for us. You can be there for people, you can say as much as you want, You know, you can listen and talk. Absolutely. As a non-therapist, I can do as much talking to people online as I want. Maybe I should. Maybe I'm thinking it. But if they get the idea in their head that I'm helping them and that I'm like a therapist, if I present as, then I can't. Because I need to be able to make it clear to them that I'm not going to be able to fix things. We're going to bring up problems. And then what are we going to do? We're going to have problems out on the table. You might feel even worse. We need to have a safety net. That's what we're kind of saying here, isn't it? We need a safety net. Maybe Dr. K was remiss in not having that safety net. Or maybe he has that safety net. Maybe he has loads of people he refers people to. Maybe he's got that and I don't know because I don't talk to him offline. You know.
Being said, so they might start crying. They might start seeing, like, kind of almost like dissociating or escalating in any way. I would probably at that point, you know, just gently kind of ask them about, you know, who they have that they can talk to about it. Do you have a therapist?
It's terrifying when people tell me their problems. I've had friends and family members turn to suicide. It's terrifying. I still listen through the fear. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Like, we should be there for people. Absolutely. It's strange, isn't it, that these therapy people are saying, look, if someone comes to you and they're feeling this, then turn them away. What they're saying is, I'm a professional therapist and I can't offer you sorry, tap the microphone. Can't offer you off the cuff. They're afraid for themselves and their professional whatever that they might say something to somebody. They go and commit suicide. Now you're responsible. You were a therapist and you didn't even, you know, do the proper thing that you should have. They're worried for that. There's a professional line in the sand here. But we should all absolutely talk to people who are suffering. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here doing, isn't it? So that's why this is so strange to me and interesting and difficult. And I find it difficult they're levelling these accusations of, frankly, they've said recklessness because it's a pun on Reckful, but you know, quite serious allegations of misconduct or what have you. Yeah, you might,
you know, do you have a family friend or family members that you can talk
and of course, I'm sorry for your loss, Snippies. I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah,
to about this sort of a thing. So there would be a redirection, specifically if I started to see the person become emotionally activated by it. That would indicate to me that the conversation is having some sort of an effect on their emotional and psychological well-being, in which case I don't want to inadvertently cause harm by continuing to either have the conversation or ask additional questions or probing questions. So
it's really interesting. She said she doesn't want to cause more harm by having more conversation and questions. True, but we also don't want to leave people just, you know, without, you know, okay, oh, that's serious, I'm not going to talk about it then. Not in effort to not cause more harm, I'm not going to do any good. Maybe doing good's important as well. And this is where I think Dr. K comes in, is that he's, you know, he's treading this line between an official therapist and just someone on the internet you can talk to that knows a bit more maybe than the average person about mental health. And he's really clear to say, I'm not an official therapist, but I want to help people. I think at some point he says that, and I think it's in this video somewhere, he says, you know, if he doesn't do it, who would do it? Like, where are the people helping? Because there aren't enough spaces in the therapy. So
that would be where I would probably be where I would cut it off.
So, like, I woke up one day and I said, I'm going to start talking to gamers over the internet. And my lawyer said you could get sued. Because someone is going to think that this is therapy and you don't have a doctor-patient relationship. And one day someone is going to kill themselves and their family is going to sue you.
So he's obviously worried about that thing. He's obviously worried about that aspect of this. And here he is talking to somebody different about it, making it very clear again.
Because you were pretending to be a doctor. They said that this would be easier if you actually weren't a medical professional because you have a license and you have obligations. But if I don't do it, who is? Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's Friday on November 15th, 4:23 in Eastern time. And, like, you're stuck. If I don't talk to you right now, Joro, who's going to talk to you?
That's a bit weird because Dr. K is making his point here, and I haven't seen this episode, so it's taken completely out of context. And his point is that he's offering solace to people in the same way as Samaritan's Lifeline will talk to you. Mind there. He's offering solace, and he's trying to drive this point home that, you know, people are accusing him of doing the wrong thing, but actually thinks he's doing the right thing. But maybe it's the wrong thing to say to Gyro here, who, you know, doesn't need this political speech made at him. But then this isn't therapy, is it? I keep forgetting it. You see, I keep forgetting it because that's a medical... He said I'm a medical professional. He knows what's going on with the depression. Gyro's there because he's feeling down and wanted to talk about it. It feels like therapy automatically, doesn't it? It feels like it. Maybe because we've all got that conditioned context. We've seen it on the telly. Should I lie down with my head on the thing? No, therapy's not like that. You don't lie. Some people can if they want, but generally you don't lie on a couch like Sigmund Freud. It's a bit like Frasier, isn't it? It's a bit like Frasier. No, it's not really like that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but Dr. K's clear in his mind about what this is. So that's part of the problem. He's clear that this isn't therapy because he knows in his therapeutic work it looks quite different probably. But we here on the outside just tune in and we settle into the idea, just subconsciously, this feels a bit like a therapy session.
Like, it's me. That's it. So let's say that for a moment that I am doing therapy on Twitch. So there's like an ethical concern with that, right? Because, like, you know, I'm talking with people publicly. And so if I'm a doctor and we say that there's an ethical issue there, then that means that I'm not allowed to stream on Twitch, right? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Yes. So then, like, if someone wants to offer life advice or wants to help people on Twitch, what we're essentially saying is that the more qualified you are, the less we are going to allow you to do that.
That's an interesting point he makes, and it's correct, isn't it? It's correct. Talking there to Sasha Grey, famous porn star.
That sucks.
Right?
Yep.
It's interesting. When you say that clinicians, I mean, you know, licensed professionals are trained. So what really trained in that the average, you know, internet guru is not is clinical illness. So if you look at, like, literally the, you know, American Psychiatric Association's definition of therapy, it's like, you know, an intervention that is designed to help someone with a clinical illness.
This is a bit awkward because obviously he's trying to look cool in front of Sasha Grey, I imagine. But I wonder now at his position, because this is later on, this is after Reckful. I wonder if, you know, in his position now, he can solicit clients through this work. Maybe he's getting clients for actual therapy. You know, we're paying him quite a lot for actual therapy because he's got a name now in this field. Maybe he's, you know, able to solicit for actual clients through this. And maybe, you know, he's trying to big himself up a little bit here. The point he makes is very important, though, and quite right. The more qualified you are, the less able you are to use this forum to offer that qualified advice. And that is obvious, though, isn't it, to him, because he's qualified, that this is not a forum where you can gain that kind of insight into people's lives, maybe, not everyone, maybe, so that you can give that advice. This format precludes it. So even if you wanted to do that, maybe this format, this is interesting what we're talking about. Maybe he, as a really qualified professional person, has helped loads of people out, because he's helped me. Absolutely. I've watched his videos, found some great interesting points in there that have helped loads of people, but in the way he can only help on that one level, that I'm not going to call it surface level, but that, I don't want to say shallow level, it was quite meaningful, but on that one level, the media level, so let's say the media level, directing people to the right places, to the information, raising ideas, you know, directing people down paths, maybe that's what he's able to do in a wider context, more than most people. But if you really want to help someone who's suicidal like Reckful, you know, if you really want to do a 10-week, 12-week, you know, hour a week, 2 hours a week, proper therapy job on someone, you can't do that on this system. He knows it because he's a qualified, you know, he keeps saying it, keeps pointing it out. Maybe that's a problem in his thing, because he actually really wants to help people. So when the real people come forward and have got, like, you know, show him these real problems, he has to refer them. He knows that this can't do it. He knows this can't fix it, but this is what he wants them to do. This is the arena he wants them to present in, because that's his thing. So, sorry, but I can't get to this deeper issue with you. I really want to, but I can't, because we're going to have to do a proper therapy thing for that. Maybe he offers them that on the side. Maybe that's, you know, maybe soliciting for that work here. fine, absolutely. I can see there'd be ethical incongruences, but you know what I mean? If he wants to help people, they've come to me, says, this is the way we go, that's the way we go. But it is right that he understands the logic there. The more qualified you are, the less you're able to make these diagnoses on camera to help people in that way. On camera, because you understand that this format, the more qualified you are, the more you understand how the format precludes you from doing it. The more you don't have that insight if you're not qualified. You think maybe I can, like me, maybe you can talk on the internet and help people with their problems. But when you're a really deeply qualified therapist, you understand that you can't. You understand that there's a level you can get to and no further before you have to start saying we're going to sit together and do a proper session, so to speak. Is he holding therapy? No worries, Nigel. No, this is the thing. He's categorically stating he's not a therapist. He's categorically stating he's not a therapist. He's someone that we quite admire for talking about mental health on Twitch, for creating a channel that talks about mental health, and actually getting involved with some of the top streamers. Is Sasha Gray? Sasha Gray's been on the screen for a while now. Is she a top streamer? We're looking at it through the context of Reckful, who was a top streamer and killed himself despite having talked to Dr. K many times on camera, hours and hours of testimony and footage that helped many people, including me, that is something that I reflect on all the time. And then this video is being put together to present this alternative angle that Dr. K is a dangerous, I'm not going to say charlatan, but a dangerous person offering shallow mental health level help, and therefore leading people into this dark world of, oh, I needed help, I thought he was a therapist, and now I'm left on my own, bereft, and nobody can help me, and I thought it was going to be Dr. K and he didn't help me. I got my hopes up and they were dashed. Now, I don't think Sasha Gray here believes she's in a therapy session with Dr. K, but I think some other people who are more vulnerable, who end up finding Dr. K insightful and think that he's like a bit like when people thought Jerry Springer was going to solve their problems by doing I'll go on the Jerry Springer show and I'll prove whether my girlfriend was cheating on me or not. A bit like that. They look to this higher power, and Dr. K has this insight and they say he could really help me. I've talked about this stuff and he seems to get me. He knows the way to fix this. Maybe that's maybe people put a lot of store on that. Maybe they put a lot of store on that, and maybe it leads them down this dark path, which is not his fault, but also he needs to be careful to make sure they don't, doesn't he, if that's what's happening. It's a grey area. It's a grey area. I'm still of the opinion that I respect him and what he does. I do see through their presentation on this video, which is an hour long and I keep stopping it, I do see through their presentation there are these not just grey areas, sometimes actual conflicts. But I do also think that it's easier for Dr. K to think of this as I'm talking to someone on the internet because he's a doctor and he's on the internet talking to someone, and not I'm a therapist, because he's not in his therapy room and they've not done the therapy thing and it's not therapy. But I think for the people who are involved on the other side, they're talking to a doctor one-to-one. It feels more like therapy than any other chat they've had. So I see where the confusion comes in. I see that.
To treat depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, addictions, things like that. So I think I know that what I do looks and feels like therapy to some people.
I haven't seen Jerry Springer the Opera, but I understand Stuart Lee lost a lot of money on it. So
probably overlaps at some, but I don't think that's. I think the real thing that and that's because you guys just haven't seen me do therapy. Like, if you saw me do therapy, you'd understand the difference. And people who have come into my office before understand the difference. There's a longitudinal relationship. There are usually diagnoses involved. There are treatments involved. I don't treat anything. I don't diagnose anything. And some people may feel like that's a technicality, like I'm skirting that. But really, it's not.
I also don't think it's possible to have a real mental health therapy session on camera. I could never open up to you on camera the same way I could open up to you as if we had a private relationship as patient and therapist. Right. So I think some people, it's hard for them to understand that.
Okay, I accidentally pressed the chuffing. No, you can see my desktop there full of crap. I accidentally pressed the button, full screened it by mistake, and now it's kicked it off for some reason. There we are, we're back.
But like anytime you put a camera on somebody, they will change.
Sasha Gray is quite articulate and interesting, isn't she? I mean, obviously all I know of her is that she had a career in pornography, but quite interesting and articulate. And she nailed that point that, yeah, obviously when people are on camera, they change. Doing therapy on a Zoom call, online, live, is not probably the, it's probably not going to work. And she's aware of that herself. She's the one raising that point. She's not there for therapy. She's not mistaking this for anything it's not. So I wonder if sometimes Dr. K's power is in this Jesus figure who can help you. And, he's able to... Because in 2 months, like you said, he got into the... I don't think I'm going to be talking to the top streamers in the next 2 months, am I? But he was, and they came to him. So that's because they thought he had this power to help them. Whereas Sasha Gray's categorically stating that she's aware that he doesn't. Interesting. She's a bit more switched on than some others, maybe. And maybe he's there thinking, that's one of my things that I can use to sort of... Take the microphone, it's going to go. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Am I out of sync? 1 2. Am I out of sync? 1 2. Am I out of sync? 1 2. Am I out of? How am I out of sync? One two check Chuffy 1 2. Check Chuffy 1 2. Check Chuffy 1 2. Oh no, look well out of sync. Am I well out of sync? Well out of sync. Am I well out of sync? Well out of sync. Am I well out of sync? Well out of sync. Am I well... I look in sync. Okay, it's just something going on my computer. I've chuffed it up somehow. Yeah, so interesting points raised all round. Sometimes I do wonder about Dr. K, because I do completely understand that he's on the end with the headphones and the microphone running a chat show. So he's trying to, leverage his position to make his chat show as good as it can be, quite often to help people, but also to, maintain his position and increase his subscriber count on a chat show. Great, good. That's fine. There's nothing sinister there. Yeah, so that seems to be the conversation they're having. Yeah.
How does a camera change? Wait, hold on. I was going to ask you a question about how a camera changes you, but it occurred to me that is outside of the two topics that we had discussed.
Oh, look, they obviously have discussed something before stream. They've had some conversations we're not party to. That's important. We don't know the full story with any of these conversations Dr. K has with any of these people, because we're not party to the full story, are we? So,
are you okay if I ask you that?
Sure, yeah.
How does a camera change you?
So is the majority of what you're doing still...
I forgot this was in it, because I've watched this briefly once through, because we're going to talk about it on stream, so I check it, of course. That's Devin Nash. I talk about Devin Nash sometimes to my sister. Hello in chat. She's an expert in being someone else. She's an expert on doing someone else in camera. I don't know. Woo! But she seemed quite articulate. I'm going to give her credit there. She seemed quite articulate and interesting. She seemed to have a brain. This is Devin Nash. Devin Nash knows his stuff about live streaming and Twitch and the internet and stuff. He's someone I also respect.
Direct one-on-one type of therapy, basically, and then using that as an example for how other people can follow it? Or are you doing more?
Yeah, so I think so. First of all, to be clear, it's not therapy, and I can't dispense medical advice over the internet.
Yeah.
But
what did I press that for then? No. Go back to exactly where we were, please.
Really loud. Love.
All right, you chuffer. Where were we? Devin Nash. Importantly here, Devin Nash suggests, this idea comes up, can't do therapy over the internet, and Devin sees it as like a disclaimer, little asterisks, doesn't he? Little star mark. Therapy cannot be dispensed over the internet. Medical advice cannot be dispensed over the internet. So what Devin Nash is thinking in his brain is that Dr. K has told me he's not a therapist and he can't do therapy advice on the internet. But really he can. That's just a little asterisk to make sure he doesn't get sued. Really, we're getting the good stuff. But your little asterisk, he can't say it is. But that's not what has been said. Devin's taken it that way. And I can see why he's taking it that way, because so many things in this life are like that. But that's not the truth of the matter. It's a bit of a grey area that gets confused. I can see that.
One-on-one type of therapy, basically, and then using that as an example for how other people can follow it? Or are you doing more?
Yeah, so I think so. First of all, to be clear, it's not therapy, and I can't dispense medical advice over the internet.
Yeah.
But so I think what I do is just talk to people.
So,
Well, just to be clear, this is not therapy,
sure.
right? We're just
This
chatting. This is
right.
just chatting on Twitch.
Yes, this is just chatting. It's
that's-
not therapy.
So
No, it's the same again, isn't it? Dr. K's making that point in a nice, genial way. This is not therapy. But the person he's talking to is smiling back as if, yeah, it's not therapy. Yeah, okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't want to get you sued. But really, it's therapy, isn't it? Really, it's therapy. Like, maybe the people he's talking to are not catching what he's throwing down. Maybe they're not. I don't want to say they're not that bright. I don't want to say they're not that bright. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. Maybe they're not socially taking the cues. I have problem with social cues. So it might be that. I don't think it is that though either. I think what it might be is that we're coming with different expectations to this game. It's not a game, is it? It's a stream. We're coming with different expectations to the stream. Dr. K is in his living room. He's got his lounge shoes on. He's not in his office doing therapy. It feels like he's not in that arena. He's coming to it from that. Chappie over here is coming to him thinking, this is the great doctor, the great and powerful Oz who helped my friend with some of their problems. This is like therapy for me. This is my opportunity to see what it's like. If I can't afford or don't go to or haven't got the 8 weeks to spend or don't care to do it fully properly. I mean, I don't know how much money these streamers have got. I don't know how much money costs for the therapy that they... Whatever. Whatever their reasons aren't for doing not therapy, they've come to this with like some sort of expectation that it's going to fill that void for them. It seems like they want it to be therapy. Yeah, a lot of these streamers seem like they want it to be therapy. I'd agree with that. And except for Sasha Grey, interestingly, except for her, she's probably had enough therapy. Well, I've seen a lot of videos of her on the internet talking to doctors, I'll tell you that. They don't seem like they're very medically qualified. They want to stick a lot of chuff up her. Anyway, look, the point I'm making is that these people seem to, it's quite clear, isn't it? They seem to think it's like therapy. He's clearly telling them it's not, and they still seem to think it is. We can't expect a therapist to not talk. Yeah, and if you're talking to your mate who's a doctor or a medical, they tell you they think it might be this. You go, oh, the doctor told me it might be this. I'm going to, different if you're talking to your mate who's a mechanic and they say, I think your bad foot is a bad tendon. Well, you're a mechanic, I don't care. If your mate that's a doctor says it might be a bad tendon, even if they don't touch it and examine you, right, the doctor said it's a bad tendon, that's it, that's what it is. This is the ballpark of what's being raised here, isn't it?
But I just want to. So, in a lot of ways, Sky, it seems like you've grown and you've moved past this, and you've become confident in the person that you are. Just to be clear, though, this is not therapy, and you understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, tell me a little bit about what you mean by depression or anxiety.
That's interesting. I mean, they are editing this to make it look like this, aren't they? To make a point, but that is interesting as well. That this is not therapy, right? So, tell me about your feelings of depression. It's like saying, this is not therapy. He's saying it when he's worried that it's going to sound like it's therapy from his side, from Dr. K's side. But from the other side, it's like a little marker. This is not therapy. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Like, I've said the word therapy now. People who understand psychology understand reverse psychology and stuff like that, don't they? So I've said it's not therapy. Now we've raised the point about therapy. Let me ask you a question that really sounds a lot like a therapy question. So it's got that double-edged sword to it, and I see how they're editing it like this. I haven't watched these full episodes, so I don't know how they seem to the people that are having the conversations.
So what can I help you with?
I was wondering if you knew where to go next.
Fantastic.
From my point of view. Yeah.
Okay. That I can certainly help you with. So when William tells us that he is an 8-year-old boy who is screaming at his mom to stop and banging his head against a wall, and she continues to yell at him for an hour and a half, and that shit happens day after day after day after day, that is a whole different ball game from being like shot once or being robbed or being raped or whatever. That's complex PTSD. Okay? So now let's think about...
It sounds like he's what's the word? Diagnosing somebody with a problem here. But he's talking about, he's giving an example of it, isn't he? Rather than rather than trying to say this person out there in the world has got this problem, he's trying to say this is what this problem's like, and this person in the world's brought it up and it's talked about it. So now we've got an overarch to talk about it. It's quite an interesting aspect of it.
What are the treatments of complex PTSD? And if you've got a real flaming weebo who's got a relationship and wants to come on stream, because you're like halfway past all this shit already, man. It's disappointing. Like we were looking for a real.
I hope.
Oh, he's having a little joke there. Look, he's
I hope.
Because what happens is that Dr. K takes people, that he doesn't know, puts them on the platform, has the conversation, and hopes that they're sort of, hitting the mark in terms of viewers and subscribers and interesting. He just said he was looking for a real weeb. He's like someone who's really. He was looking for someone who had a social anxiety problem aspect, specifically through the framework of this weeb Japanese thing. And it sounds like this guy is beyond the problem. Oh, you haven't got enough of a problem for me on my show. He's making a joke about this guy, but he's also kind of making a joke from a position of now more you're not good enough for my show because we're looking for people who are really freaky to laugh at. It sounds like that. But also I think maybe Dr. K is just a little bit angry because today the person who's on his show has maybe misrepresented themselves. I don't know, I didn't watch this episode, and maybe Dr. K is just having a little poke and a little joke. Thank God it's not a therapy session and it's just a talk show.
Doesn't feel debated yet again.
Yeah, they were debated, man. You bathe and you work out and you're making a career change and.
Oh look, his joke's nice, actually, isn't it? His joke is actually saying, "Look, man, you're doing better than you think you are." It's like you came on here because you thought you were this rubbish person, and actually, mate, look at all these positive aspects to your personality. He's not saying you shouldn't have called up. He's saying he's using the joke as a way of helping this guy to reframe his thinking about himself, which is actually quite good mental health support, even if you're not doing a therapy session.
You take care of yourself.
Yeah, and his language, true, yeah, how can I help you? It's interesting. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what they were saying earlier, is Dr. K knows the difference in the language, doesn't he? Because he's a therapist. So when he's using this language, he's using his toolbox, his therapy toolbox. And that's the thing they're levelling at him as an accusation. But also, that's also how he talks, because, he talks like that.
I overheard him talking to his friend. I don't know, I was like 12. That he told his friend that he wanted to kill himself. It was weird to hear my dad say that. Yeah.
Reckful, do you have a therapist?
I've gone to therapy a few times.
This was one of the early conversations they had, and you could see it got serious for Dr. K here, and he's thinking, this is one of these moments where I have to step in and intervene, and maybe I have to, this isn't just a chat show anymore. This is getting heavy, and Reckful's got serious. He asked him if he's got a therapist. I don't know the conversations they had offline. I don't know what they said offline. They continue to talk about these things online after this conversation. We're only getting a little sliver of it. This is what edits are for. They're presenting these interesting things. We're talking about it.
But I've never saw it as useful enough to keep going. This time I do. Well, okay, this is not therapy. But you know what I mean. But
there's so many important. I could be doing the body language on this, couldn't I? But Dr. K, there's panic.
I've never saw it as useful enough to keep going. This time I do. Well,
this time I do.
Okay, this is not therapy.
The tongue's out. There's a laugh. I actually think he's feeling anxiety. He's looking away here. There's a feeling of power, feeling like he's but he knows he's treading that dangerous fine line, and I think he knows. All these things are going off in Dr. K's head at that moment when Reckful overtly states, "This is therapy. This is not therapy, but it is. I'm looking forward to this helping me as a therapy." It's very difficult when the people that want the therapy, but you've told them it's not the therapy, and then you've had an hour and a half talk or whatever it is, and then they're saying these things. I mean, I see why it's such a difficult grey area.
But you know what I mean. But yeah, it wasn't.
So, okay, so look, man. So this is what we got to do. So I think this is way more longitudinal. So there's something. This is way more longitudinal, right? So
what he's saying when he says longitudinal, he means this is something that. I'm going to have to look it up to make sure I'm using the right... I know what he means. He means this is going to take time. Running lengthwise rather than across. Relating to longitude, ranging from east to west. Yeah, like latitude and longitude, the lines are around the world. So longitudinal is a line around the world. The Earth, you know, the lines that go around, like your north, south, up, down. Like it's a process, so Snippy. Yeah, I think it must be measured. What he's referring to, what I'm trying to say is, the sun goes that way around the Earth. The light, when it's night and day, doesn't it? Appears to. It's the Earth that's spinning, not the sun. But you know what I mean. It appears the sun goes from east to west as time passes. This is something that we're going to have to deal with in time, with time, as part of the process, over time, like an 8-week, 10-week, longer theory, you know, proper theory. He's flagging the map here. He's saying, look, mate, this is one of these where you need to go to therapy, where we've raised the issue, we picked the scab. This is where you're vulnerable. Let's give you the ongoing, you know, talk to you offline. I'll give you the numbers, whatever. You can see the hope in Byron's eyes. I really feel sad for Byron in these situations, because Byron hoped this is what this is. Byron reminds me of one of these romantic people who falls in love very easily and then has their heart dashed when, you know, it turns out to not be what they thought it was. Do you know what I mean? He's like a Byron's like an innocent little puppy sometimes, isn't he? You know, you can see the sadness in his eyes here, where he thinks, I thought that's what this was, and now you're telling me that's not what this is. And I have to take that. Letdown. Byron has to take that letdown, and he decides not to show a sadness, he decides not to say, I thought that's what this was. You know, he decides to just take it. I can see he almost steels himself because he's feeling the negative feelings. So he steels himself and feels them, but doesn't sort of overtly go through saying, hang on, I thought that's what this was.
I think we have to we got to figure something out. So either you need to talk to someone about this because you
you need to talk to someone about this, like somebody else, not me. It's like he's being dumped, isn't it? It's like he's being deffed off by a girl. Like, you know, I thought this was going well. We've been talking for an hour and a half, but you need to go and talk to somebody else.
Understand things that you didn't understand before. Or, like, I can't do one-offs. Like, we can do one-offs about meditation and random shit, but if you really want to get into this, if you want to get into loneliness, we got to do it, like, in sequence. Like, we got to do it sequentially. Like, we got to do it.
I'm fine with that.
We got to, like, you know, get started.
And he's offered him there, it's throwing him a bone. Well, if you really, like, Dr. K sees his anguish, doesn't want him to feel bad, and says, well, if you really want to do it, we can do it properly. I don't know if he knows what he's saying here. We go on to see that he sort of takes this back a little bit, says he was talking in the heat at the moment. But you can see, obviously, from Reckful's point of view, yeah, absolutely, that's what I want to do. You know, you can feel the vibe coming from him, can't you? So he's giving him some hope here, hasn't he, Dr. K? Because as a human being, you don't want to hear somebody say how depressed they are, suicidal, and then leave it on and like, well, you know, I'm going to leave this with, I'm not going to help you. That's not what he wants to say. He wants to say, absolutely, I can. And he knows, if I know what he knows what Reckful wants to hear, and he's trying to help him to hear it, to feel good, to feel positive. It's difficult, isn't it? It's grey area.
Yeah, so let me just think about that. It doesn't have to be online. But, you know, if you want to do it online, that's fine. But then I think we have to do it consistently. And
how consistently?
I mean, I would say probably every week for like 4 to 8 weeks.
So what he's talking about is serious therapy, and he's trying to say, Dr. K, this is what you shouldn't do this with me online. You should do this offline with a real therapist, you know, serious therapist offline. But Reckful almost guides the conversation here as well, like, because what he's trying to say, you have to do this seriously every week for 8 weeks. What he's trying to say is, that's not a streamer thing, is it? Because you're busy doing other stuff. But Reckful's thinking, I could do this on stream once a week. Yeah, absolutely, I can do that. And when he says, yeah, I can do that, that puts Dr. K in a bit of a situation, because he thought that Byron would say, oh no, I can't commit to that on stream every thing. So maybe we do this offline, and, you know, maybe we talk. But he doesn't. It's a difficult conversation.
That's not that long.
I mean, it's not that long, but it's.
I'm willing to do that. If
okay.
You are.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm willing to do it because I mean, I think, let me just think about it. Let's figure out how to do
It's been edited.
Do this. You just sleep on it, and then you let me know, like, tomorrow, or like whenever you want to let me know. Okay. So I'll message you. We'll figure it out. Let's do like.
But we can see that Dr. K's not sure about this at all. That he's raised an idea, but he's not sure. He thought the idea probably would have been poo-pooed, And Reckful might have said, okay, I see what you mean. Maybe this is something that I have to do off. Like, he's tried to show him that this is serious therapy, needs to be done offline, not online, But Reckful's the sort of person. Let's not forget, Reckful invented IRL streaming. So if he went to a therapist, he'd probably take his camera in with him. So it's not a weird concept for Dr. K to say online or offline. Do you know what I mean? Like, Reckful does everything online. Did everything online. So it's hard to, it's clearly a confusing thing for Dr. K as well. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe January 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Like sometime in like the second week of January. Okay. And then we'll do like...
I gotta survive a long time on my own.
I don't know when this was first, I don't know what the dates were. But I got to survive a long time on my own, says Byron. He's not really joking, but now this is more dangerous because for Dr. K, he should pick that up. Because he's like, Byron's now using you as a life raft. I've got to survive that long on my own and Dr. K's trying to say again in a way, like, you don't have to survive that long on your own. You can get the help now. It just can't be me. But Byron's in love with Dr. K in a way now, isn't he? He wants this to be the thing that makes it work. And Dr. K doesn't want to scrape him off and be like, look, deaf you off, give you the hard nose. He wants to maintain a positive relationship with Reckful and talk about things on stream.
I got this. I can do it.
Yeah, I mean, you can I can talk to you in between that. I just won't be streaming.
Yeah, I got it. I'll
okay.
make it.
You can just message me, dude. Just message me. Okay. All right. Strong work, Reckful.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Interesting stuff, isn't it?
This reminds me. I wanted to share with you because I thought of this. My dad wrote a book. He actually wrote several.
While Reckful shares this next bit, which I've seen a million... No, I don't mean it like that. I've seen a million times, but I've rewatched and rewatched. I'm just going to quickly refresh my tea, and we are pushing a long episode here, so I can guarantee we're not going to fit the whole video in. We're going to have to split it into two halves. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to finish this little bit. Informed consent, all this interesting stuff we'll come back to next week, but we'll do suicide prevention. I'll go and refresh my tea. We'll listen to Reckful talking, and then we'll finish with suicide prevention, which will be a little bit out of sync, but it's fine. It's fine.
But in the book, he had a fictional character who was based on himself. Had a different profession, but the same backstory with my brother who, his kid who committed suicide. And then he wrote the actual experience of what it felt like for him when my brother committed suicide. And I wanted to read it to you.
Sure.
Thought maybe. Yeah.
Please.
And when I was 16, I actually edited the book for my dad. So I read it all the way through back then.
Huh.
Because he didn't get an editor. I wasn't very good at editing. I can actually do it much better now. While I'm reading it, I would want to change some words around. Anyway.
Just read it.
My son had been suffering from a severe depression for several months, and I did sometimes fear the worst. So when my wife called me at work on that evening and said that his room was locked and he wouldn't respond to calling his name and knocking on the door, death immediately reared in my mind and my heart palpitated with a pang. I shouted, "My son is dead," and I started sobbing savagely and uncontrollably. My secretary drove me home. Someone climbed to the rear window of his room and broke it, then immediately screamed to call the paramedics. Leora, her name's really Judy. Judy ran to Guy's room, the secretary following on the steps. Judy came out of the room crying hysterically, her pain throbbing around me. The paramedics came and she re-entered the room with them, but they could only confirm Guy's death. My own darkness engulfed, sucked, and suffocated me. Inescapable misery constantly bashing my heart, gashing wounds of unbearable pain. Memories of my son melted my brain like butter in boiling vapor, driving me insane. And the worst was the impossibility, the absolute impossibility to run away and to vanish and disappear. There was nowhere to hide, except if blessed sleep came to me some nights after many hours of twisting in my bed.
So what I get from you is a profound sense of sadness and loss.
Yeah. Doctor. Well done, Doctor. I mean, they've edited that, haven't they? But that was an emotional moment. Yeah, Reckful was describing how his father wrote a book about their experience as a family of losing Reckful's brother, his father's son, to suicide. It's a powerful, profound, emotional moment. and one that Reckful's talked about on camera before. They've edited that, but to what end? We're saying that Reckful was clearly vulnerable, on the edge, had these problems. We all knew that for a long time. That was part of Byron. Like, he discussed that openly. And Dr. K, I think, from what I've seen, because like I said, I've watched the full hours and hours, and I've been interested in this. Interested is the wrong word. I think Dr. K did. He did a lot. He seems way out of his depth. That's an interesting point to make, Nigel. Yeah, I feel that a little bit here as well, and I think we all do when dealing with these things, because we're humans, aren't we? And Dr. K is, like I said, like I keep saying, he's put together a sort of online talk show about mental health to sort of raise issues, awareness, open up conversations, and then all of a sudden it's turned into a, can we save this individual from suicide because they are slipping? And they're not just some individual, they're like one of these top streamers. And it wasn't just one, there were quite a few who were coming to Dr. K with issues. It must have been quite overwhelming for Dr. K as well. And to feel out of his depth, to seem out of his depth, I think that's okay. Because I don't think he presented himself as the font of all knowledge that's going to fix everyone's problems, but I think they felt like that about him. It's so hard, isn't it? And yeah, maybe Dr. K should have a couple of times, but I think he did earlier, didn't he? He kind of said, have you seen a therapist about this? He's kind of said, this is bigger than I thought it was. I don't know.
The thing that I don't understand is how much of that loss is for you, how much of that loss is for him, and how much of that loss is for your dad.
I feel bad for my dad for sure. I don't know. I don't know.
So, Reckful, I have a crazy-ass non-sequitur question for you, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to have children one day?
I always thought no, because I'm scared they'd kill themselves.
Yeah.
Hey, you put your adverts in. That was mean and sinister to put your adverts in at the most emotionally charged moment, wasn't it? I mean, interestingly, this video is constructed to point fingers at Dr. K and say they are dangerous. What they're doing online is dangerous. And to use that moment there of Reckful's, anguish to pop the advert in at that point seemed a bit... we talk about ethics, seemed a bit unethical, didn't it, in a way? I think people expect to be... Right, it's unreasonable to expect this from anyone, even a therapist, yeah. So we're going to go on now to informed consent. And what they're going to go on, and we're going to talk about either next Mental Health Monday or later on this week, is the nature of therapy and how, do you know it's therapy, and is someone therapizing you without your knowledge, just in conversation, using it for their own channel, that sort of stuff. All these different aspects. But we've opened up a big can of worms here. I just want to make sure before we finish tonight's episode, which my second battery is also on 0% battery for some reason, so that's a problem. We want to quickly cover suicide prevention, make sure we talk about this, because this is the key critical, and we will talk about it again in the next episode, I'm sure.
Basically initiate getting them to a hospital, or getting them into some sort of protective custody. So that might look like encouraging them to, voluntarily go to the ER or go to a behavioral health unit. If they're unwilling to do that, and you believe that they're of imminent risk to themselves, I would basically say either you go voluntarily, or I would probably call 911 or call the police or an ambulance to get them to a hospital, to assess them, to get them to a hospital.
Well, I could kill myself, and I've thought about it so many days.
This is a different conversation with a different... I'm looking over there and you're not over there, you're up there. This is a difficult conversation, a different conversation with a different streamer about, and she raises her feelings of, like, again, I haven't watched this episode, I haven't watched all of it, so I don't know, it's out of context, but I agree with what she said. If someone shows they are suicidal, if someone raises these, these things, talking about getting to a hospital, getting to help, we've got a problem though, haven't we? We've got a problem, which is that aside from like A&E, ER, aside from that, it's hard to know where to go. There aren't that many, it feels like there aren't that many catch you when you're down at the right moment services, doesn't it? So that's why we're on the internet offering this mental health support to try and help people. That's why Dr. K is offering this broad, I looked over there, you're not over there. It's why Dr. K is offering this broad context, conversational mental health support on Twitch, right on the platform where the gamers are, that young people commit suicide. So we haven't gone full circle, haven't we? Now they're here talking about their suicidal tendencies, their feelings, and we're saying it's not good enough that you're doing it in a chat show. It's not, a chat show is not good enough. Letting these people down, should be offering them, getting them to the emergency room and all that. Well, yeah, I agree with that, and this is something we can all take from this. Remember, Lifeline, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That doesn't have to be if you're feeling suicide. If you know someone who's feeling suicide and you want to talk about what to do because you're confused, there's a resource. Same thing in the UK, 116 123 for free. If you're confused and you want to talk to somebody about somebody else, if you need to help somebody access mental health services because you're both confused as if if you're ringing 999 or going to the ER doesn't feel like the thing, it's okay to do that. The doctors and nurses there will help. They will help. But I believe we need more than that. And it's sad that people take such a long time through the, you go on a 6-month waiting list for your therapy or what have you. We need more at the time of crisis, absolutely. So that's an issue, that's a problem. And I think that's a fair, to level, the way they've edited this is to say that Dr. K, suicide prevention, where's the, this is negligence from Dr. K, isn't it? Because obviously she needs real serious help and you're doing a chat show. But we're taken out of context. We don't know what kind of help you offered offline. We don't know if this...
You're right, born to kill on your helmet and you wear a peace button. What's that supposed to be, some kind of sick joke?
I think I was trying to suggest something about the duality of man, sir.
Where's my tippies thing? I haven't put the tippies thing on the screen because I thought this wasn't really an episode about tippies. For me, I thought it was more about waving my hands and going way for the tippies. Doesn't feel quite right in this one, but thank you very much. I really do appreciate the tippies. That's how I'm eating. So I will look at tippies in our next episode, and I'll do it now quickly. I'll do it now. My coffee. Thank you for essentially buying me coffee. Which is, I don't just eat coffee, I eat foods, but this website's called Coffee, isn't it? So there you are. Snippy's bought me thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hopefully a cup of tea can help you reflect on it. Thank you. I will, I drink tea, so we'll call it QT. We'll call it, it's called coffee. Anyway, look, I do appreciate that. I do. So, and this is difficult work that we're all trying to do. So this is, I'm not... Now do I let that run? I want to go to the Reckful one. Because she cries, she talks about suicide, and they imply that Dr. K leaves her hanging. I don't know, it's edited that way.
Thanks to you. Pretty sure.
So what do you mean by happier?
I remember this one. It seemed they'd turned a corner. It seemed that something good had happened for Reckful. It seemed that things were going well. And it's always darkest before the dawn, isn't it? If you're feeling like life is, terrible, it's always darkest before the dawn. Things are going to get better, absolutely. Certainly the worse they get, then they can get much better, can't they? It's always darkest before the dawn. Hold on, hold out. If you're going through hell, keep going. But for once, it seemed like Reckful wasn't going through hell, that things were going well. And that was right before the final slip. We had COVID. I don't think COVID helped his mental state one bit, having to stay in. I think that was... I don't think you can lay the blame at the door of people like Dr. K who tried to help. I think having to stay in, it's nobody's fault, the COVID, is it? Donald Trump, maybe. Nobody's fault the COVID. It's not like Donald Trump released a biological warfare on China, is it? It's not like they set up a lab in China with Dr. Fauci and his... Oh, hang on, they did do that. Anyway, look, I'm getting off the track. I'm only making a bit of a joke on the most inappropriate time to make the jokes. So what I'm trying to say is it seemed like things were going well for Reckful, and it's like blaming someone's cardiologist for a heart attack. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point. Well made. That's a really good point. Well made. It seemed like things were going well, and that's the point they're making here.
I wake up and I don't want to kill myself. Thanks to you. Pretty
That's
sure.
a plus.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean that's a plus. I don't know. So I appreciate that. You feel I'm somewhat responsible for this. I'm grateful for that. I think, as I tell most people, we've spent 1 hour a week together over the last, 2 months?
You being there to guide me in the right direction, even if you just talk to me for 5 minutes, I could end up dwelling and thinking about it for one thing you say. I could think about for 100 hours, right? For the whole, every waking hour of the week, I could.
They're editing this as like a negative there, as if to say, you say something in our little chat that we have once a week. It's not therapy still, even though it is once a week now. And Dr. K has seen Reckful being on the edge and has given more of his time to him. It's good, isn't it? They initially discussed, I remember as well, there was an issue with like Dr. K's running this show with lots of guests. If Reckful's on every week, then it's the Reckful show every week, and he wants to talk to lots of people about lots of things. So maybe that's not fair to have it as the Reckful show every week. But look, they maintained their relationship, let's say, over a longer period of time, and it's paid dividends for Reckful's mental health, which is good, even though it's not therapy.
Think about it.
Okay.
And Reckful will take these ideas and he'll think about them in the week. And they're setting this up as a negative. Look, it's not therapy, but you, as the helpful, not therapist, Dr. K, are causing Reckful to think about things all through the week. You're just throwing off a flippant point. It's not therapy, but he's taking it like it's therapy. He's thinking about it all week. So look how important you are to these people, Dr. K. And if you're not careful, you're being dangerous, because they're listening to you as if you're a therapist. You're not giving them proper therapy advice. They're thinking about it all week. That's the premise here. But also it could be said, as Dr. K points out, that, the work you do in your own mind is more important than any therapy. You go to the therapist, they try and help, but they're not you. They can't see in your head. They try and reflect things and help you to reflect on things. That reflection, that thinking about something somebody said for a week, my response to it. He's not just thinking about the words, is he? He's thinking about what it means to him, how he feels, what he does, how he behaves. That reflection can bear the fruit of good work. Suicide prevention, this category is. It looks like something did help for Reckful. Obviously, Reckful didn't end up being prevented from committing suicide, did he? But from what I can see, Dr. K's intervention was positive, and it helped us to gain more of Byron at his best over that last year. And from what I saw, it wasn't Dr. K's intervention, like Byron being forced to stay in a room, the kind of person he was, being forced to stay in, to not socialise. That must have borne quite a toll on him. And, it wasn't Dr. K's fault that, whatever happened to him in his life happened over the time that it happened. So I don't feel negatively about Dr. K, but they're trying to set this up. Suicide prevention. Did Dr. K miss the signs? Did Dr. K make him think he was better off than he was? Did Dr. K lead Byron to thinking, things are all right here, when actually they weren't solved and settled? And when Dr. K wasn't there for him, then what happened? That's the sinister side of things. All I can say, we're going to play this last little bit out. All I can say is I'll play this last bit out and then I'll say all I can say. Yeah.
So we got 16 waking hours a day, 70 plus 42, 112 hours, right? 112 hours of therapy.
You get these little glimpses when you watch Reckful. You get these little glimpses of his intellect. That's one. I can't watch people who I think are dumb. Sorry. Not my vapor off the table then. Can't watch people who I think are sorry if you're dumb. I'm not being rude about you being dumb. I'm not being, sorry if you're not a genius. I'm not being rude about people who are not super smart. I'm not a super genius, am I? But Reckful had some kind of genius, and when people show you glimpses of that, like he just did that maths in his head, it's only a little silly thing, isn't it? Or his little ways of thinking that come out in the content. You see these little glimpses of brilliance, and it reminds me that Reckful is one of these special people. we all identify with his story in ways. We can all feel these sadnesses, but Reckful was a special person. I'm not saying some people are better than others or anything like that, but I am saying that Byron had a real unique gift, and that played out in his life. You could see it in his content from time to time, shine, like dazzle you, and that's why he was such a wonderful person. I think we all have those qualities in different ways, unique gifts, don't we? But there was an example of Byron, showing it. So I just wanted to highlight it.
Be happening from one thing you say, I take it with me through the whole week, kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's the key thing. So that I'll accept in a moment. I'll agree with that. But I think the main thing here is that the work is not just what we do together. It's what you do in your mind after we talk.
I feel like everything in my life is coming together. And it actually feels like I have cheat codes on. It just feels like everything's working every time. It feels too easy. Everything's working. Anything I do just works.
In hindsight, it's easy to see now that this was a dangerous position to be in, because, of course, life is not like that, and things were going good. Like maybe when the next problems start to shatter that illusion of easygoing life, it might be harder, and maybe the Doctor has elevated Reckful into, maybe he's floating in the clouds on helium balloons that are soon to pop, and the fall is going to be greater because of it. That's hindsight, though, isn't it? I remember at the time feeling that this is good.
And then before, everything was really hard. Because a year ago, my mom and I were talking about doing a suicide pact and both dying. And now, everyone's happy. So,
is your mom happy?
My mom's happier now. I think she's happier because I'm happy. It's like a chain reaction.
You guys sound close. Sounds like...
Close emotionally, but we don't talk all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with your comment there. Reckful was the sort of person and they talked about in different episodes as well about thought patterns, and Reckful described it as like ice, and you've got like a sledge and you've gone down the ice so many times it's worn grooves, and it's easy to fall back into those negative thinking, depression thinking grooves. I do think that things seem to be going well for him, and then when it stopped seeming that way, it might have been a big, like you say, concrete. Now it's all ruined. Now it's a disaster. These highs and lows, these extremes of emotion, because you're emotional and extreme. Because that's what life's like, and you're human. Yeah, absolutely. I think that absolutely. And that's what I was going to say as well about Genius. About he was a bit of a special person, and sometimes these special people, the genius, going back to what we said at the very start about Kurt Cobain, about Ian Curtis, about people who killed themselves or cut off their ears or whatever. People do these genius on the edge of madness. Do you know what I mean? Genius on the edge of madness. It's hard to be able to see the world for what it is, because when ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise. So one bad thing happens with the cage. Yeah, absolutely. That's a total. You're bang on there. That was one of the things I realised when I was not handling the reduction in my medication recently, is that it's easy to be sunk. Usually someone takes a little shot off your bow and your boat just sails on, but when you're depressed, that little shot off the bow is the hole that leaks the sea into your boat, and suddenly you are sunk and you can't continue with the day because all is lost. All feels to be lost. But cling on. We'll start bailing things out. We'll plug up the holes. All is not lost. But of course, to Reckful, at one point, it did seem that way, didn't it? And this is the danger, is that when that's the case, when we're talking about suicide, which we are, plugging the boat, bailing out, getting on with it, that's only achievable if we didn't jump into the sea ourselves. But the minute you do take that last step, you can't go back on it. So it's a one-way street, isn't it? It's a shame now, and I completely see that. Yeah, we construct our own ideas, of the world through our own prisms, don't we? We're trying our best. The main thing to remember, suicide prevention in focus here, is that if you are feeling that depressed, then it's worth just trying to make it through one more day and one more day. You're dead a long time, aren't you? So hold out for something slightly better, and we'll try together to help you through that. Yeah. You know, I'm doing the same thing now as Dr. K. Me not having all the answers at the end of this episode is fine. If you're there watching this and feeling suicidal, I've offered portals to somebody who knows a bit more than me, that can help you a little bit more than I can. But we're trying to help, and we're not, ignoring you. And we recognise your feelings, and we just say, hold on, hold out, hold on. It will get better. You might not feel it now, but I promise you that I'll lead you out to the other side where saints march in. Been hanging in the noose, see my flesh burn, found we all have lessons to learn. I'll edit it down to a news flash. You're fragile and strong like glass, don't do anything rash. Happiness can spread like fire, and if you've no desire to live for yourself, live for someone else. Okay? I'm looking at the camera and you're not over there, you're over there. You see? It's that easy. Things can change. Well, it's not that easy, is it? It's silly. It's not that easy. So anyway.
So, Reckful, is there something in particular that you'd like to talk about today?
No.
Okay. Then let me...
Now this is harsh because they're framing this as Reckful... They're framing this as Reckful felt cured. Look, he said, no, there's nothing, no problem, I'm okay, I don't need to talk to you anymore. And then he went on to go down the spiral and commit suicide. So they're framing this like the doctor sort of like abandoned him in a way, but that's not fair. It's not fair, it never was. I remember myself, I've been to a therapy session where I remember saying, look, I'm here today, but nothing's really wrong. And I remember going back the next week and saying, God, I can't believe I would said that last week because I feel devastated this week, and here's why. So the therapist should know that just because you feel good one week doesn't mean it's all finished. But that was a different, they've edited it together. I agree though, maintaining, it's hard now to see this in hindsight because this was during COVID. He grew a bit of a beard, he looked a bit rough. But we all did, didn't we? COVID was hard. None of us saw it coming. People in chat there weren't, I don't talk in other people's chat. I wasn't there watching this particular stream. But people in chat there are not saying, you look a bit rough, are you okay? Everyone was feeling it. Nobody saw it coming. It's unfair to, to level that at Dr. K.
We probably are living in a simulation. Maybe I should just, should I get us out of here? Maybe the trick is that I need to die to get to the next part. There's another game. Should I risk it and find out? No?
In hindsight, Reckful's final hours on stream are clearly, red flag signals. They're clearly red flag signals. In hindsight. But someone that was always talking comedically and entertaining, someone that was always in high spirits with intriguing ideas. A little throwaway comment about simulation theory and maybe if I kill myself, I'll get to the next level. It feels like a joke at the time, but I mean, again, I didn't watch that exact stream and I wasn't live with Reckful there to stop him. Nobody there realised that was what was going to happen, but it did. It did. So that's the, that's the rub of that green, isn't it? I don't know. There's a bit at the end of the video, poking at Dr. K for his response to the death and, ethical innovation here at the end. We'll look at the other ethics about informed consent in the next episode, but that's the story. If you want to find out more about Reckful's story, then I recommend Reckful Reacts to History of Reckful, and the original, not Reckful Reacts to the Reckful documentary chat, that was not the one. It's the History of Reckful. That's a really, he watched it and didn't have negative things to say, so that's a good video from Slush there. And there's Reckful Reacts to the History of Reckful. Or maybe it is that one. Maybe it's Reckful Reacts to history documentary with chat. Slush Extras. Yeah, it's that one, sorry. Slush Extras, yeah. So Reckful just chooses not to watch every minute of the documentary. So if you want the full story, you can watch the Slush video. And if you want to see his reaction to his own story, which is quite cute, really, that's there as well. They're the full, not the full story, of course, not the full story, of course, but that's some of the story there. No, I'm not going to tell because I'm not here to be the historian of Twitch. It's a tragedy. It's a great tragedy, and Byron, were he still here today, would still be innovating, showing us new things, new angles, driving the medium into new and interesting places. He was a bright and brilliant light, and as they say in Blade Runner, the light that burns bright burns half as long. So he takes his place in... he always was a legend. We talk about legendary status in Hearthstone. I'm looking over there, you're over there. We talk about legendary status in Hearthstone, but Byron, was a special kind of person. He takes his space in Valhalla among the legends and leaves us with a legacy. A very special person that leaves us with a legacy that, can't be explained. Can't be explained. I watch Asmongold as well. Like I said, I can only watch smart people. I don't like watching dumb people. I watch Asmongold as well. This is what they did in World of Warcraft, because Reckful was instrumental in the success of World of Warcraft. He was one of its best ever players. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop before I start to feel too emotional over this, as I tend to do, and finish just there on our place. That was an internet story, that's what we're talking about today. One little pixel. That's what we're talking about today. One little person, one little pixel. That's all we are. That's all any of us are. One little pixel, one little person. And we make up this, don't we? We make up this thing. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today to enter this thing called life. We make up this, don't we? This tapestry, this rich and intriguing tapestry. So don't quit out, hold out. Don't quit out, hold out. I'm not saying, there's no shame in quitting. There's no shame in taking a break from things. Needing to recover, relax, recuperate. Even turning the chuffer off for a week before you come back to Elden Ring. There's no shame in any of that. But don't quit out, hold out. We're all just little pinpoints of light, aren't we? And you bring us together, and we're universes, and we're space ducks. Aren't we? And yeah, if he is, I'm sure he'd be taking some great enjoyment out of that in a way. So don't quit out, hold out. Don't quit out, hold out. And I'm going to see you in the next one. It's quite late. My dog, I'll tell you a little story quickly. I can't do it on big face because we don't have a big face now. Battery ran out. But I'll tell you a quick little funny story. The dog has decided that he's going to stop going on his evening walks. I take him out last thing at night because I've always been doing that with my old rescue dog. Last thing at night. Marlo gets to go out a lot more than the old rescue dog did because he bites people less. So Marlo gets a lot of walking in the daytime, and he's decided that he doesn't want to go out at 10 o'clock anymore. I take him, put the lead on, I get ready, and he just won't leave the house. He's like sitting there, like, I'm not leaving. I have to drag him out. I get halfway up the road to the first corner. Marlo will do a wee on the side of the road, on someone's garden, on the grass. He'll do his little wee, and he runs straight back to the house. And then I've lost control of the dog. He's like running home. He will not have. I'm like, come on, we'll go for a walk, and he will not have it. It's quite funny for me. And you know what I think? I think he's got his own little mind. He's a smart little doggy. He's not like I don't want to say bullied, but my previous dog, I had to sort of like dominate its will. You know, I had to be like, I'm in charge. No, you're not running off over there. Like, not biting anyone. I'm in charge. With Marlo, he's got a lot more freedom because I trust him to not do silly things. So he's telling me you don't want to go for that late night walk. That's okay. That's okay. If you need a wee, do a wee. He's done it on the. Okay, what more can I ask? I can't force him to go stomping around the block. If you don't like it, if he's scared, if he's frit, if it's night time, you don't like it. He's a little sensitive little boy, isn't he? So I don't force him now. What I do is I offer him the walk, and if you don't want it, you don't have it. For me, it's different because I'm used to walking every night at 10 o'clock. I'm used to it. I'm missing that now a little bit, but I'm trying to bring his walk forward so that he does his last walkie as the sun goes down, so he doesn't feel scared and darkness and frit. And then if he can get through the night without weeing his knickers. Because remember, you don't want to go in the back garden. You won't do a wee in the back garden. So it has to go on the walk for it. So if you can get through the night, what are we now? 7, 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock the next day, brings the next walk. If he can get through that, fine. It's up to him. If he needs a wee, he can go in the garden. It's up to him. But I'm no longer forcing him. So now, usually at the end of every episode, I have to go and walk the dog. But now I don't have to. What I have to do now, what I'm going to do is only go as far as the end of the drive before a refusal becomes a return home. It's quite funny for me. I don't know what to, like I said, I think he runs back for his ice cream. Milo doesn't get a treat. He just doesn't want to be on the walk. He's just, he's showing me his he has his own. Showing me his, I don't want to say demand. Demand's the wrong word. He's showing me his desire. Desire, that's it, desire. Do you know what desire lines are? Here's a random for you at the end of stream. Do you know what desire lines are? Yes, you do, but you don't know you know. You don't know that you know what they are. Desire lines is when you're walking and you want to walk somewhere, so you just walk there. And what happens is you tread your own path. You develop a path. It starts out as just some scruffy, but it becomes like the path that people walk. This is a really good example, this one. If I just move the web of a browser. Often desire lines overstay. Like, that path has been built so you can walk the corner, but no one wants to walk. They want to take the shortcut. The desire line is the path of human transit. That's it. That's where they're going. They're walking there. You can't stop them. So I think desire lines are kind of beautiful. I wanted to create a book of artistic photography of desire lines. You can create some quite interesting pictures by following the desire lines, by framing the desire lines. This tells a story, doesn't it? This tells a story. Quite often you get desire lines in places that they're talking about in terms of context of design here. It's not about design, it's about desire. Quite often you get desire lines in places where paths have not been provided, though. In forests and, organic spaces, the desire line will dominate. So I love desire lines. I love the concept. I love the name. I love that. Don't know why I said that or what context it has. Desire lines. Don't know why. I don't know what. That was it, the dog and the desire. So yeah, he's got his own desires. My other dog had his own desires, but I couldn't let him bite people. This dog, I'm not going to force it to do things it doesn't want to do. Bottom line. I let him off the lead a lot more than the previous dog. And I used to be the dog owner who said, it's my walkie, you're coming with me. So if you don't want to go, tough, you're coming with me. I'm the boss, I'm the big boss. This little dog's sensitive and he's shy and he's quiet. And I don't want to go out at 10 o'clock at night. You don't have to. So that's it. He doesn't have arthritis. That's something I have thought. I'm worried about his little feet because I don't cut his nails as much as I should do because the old dog used to bite me when I cut his nails and I'm left anxious about doing it. I do worry that his claws are a little bit long. But he doesn't have a problem running around for the bally. Doesn't have a problem if I'm throwing the squeaky. Doesn't have a problem if we go to the woods. So his only problem is round the block. So I appreciate your point there. Maybe it's maybe it's him showing me something that he can't communicate. But unless it's arthritis that only occurs at 10 o'clock at night, he doesn't like the dark and he doesn't like being scared. He's a bit of a ninny for that sort of thing, and he thinks there's a foxy around because there is a foxy around there somewhere. There's a fox that goes around at night in our area. So maybe it's that. I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm no longer going to force him at 10 o'clock. So it's a new world. It's an absolute... His feet are fine. There you go. Look, his feet are fine. It's an absolute new world for us both, where I am freed of my 10 o'clock obligation. But I actually quite like walking around the block at night time. So I don't know. That's the world we're in. I'm a little bit disappointed now I'm looking at this that they've tagged. It's like a graffiti world, isn't it? Everyone's got their own little tag behind Reckful's chair. But in a way, that's kind of cool. Reckful would have liked that. You know, that was what he was all about. One of the things that Byron did that stood out amongst other streamers was he was egalitarian in that he would talk to somebody one-on-one if they had 10 subscribers in the same way as he would if they had 1 million subscribers. He was one-on-one. Walk Omar. There we go, the suggestions. Walk Omar. I actually thought about taking Omar to the woods the other day. You worry with a cat that he might not come back, but Omar would, because he ain't going away from me. And he wants a haircut. Yes, we're going to try and do a haircut stream with the dog. I say try. I thought about it. We'll see. We'll see. The bottom line is I have to take him to a groomer because I'm not doing the nail cutting, because I just will never overcome that. I will not overcome it. Not quick enough for his nails to, not in the few months it takes for his nails to grow. So you be good, my little puckos. You be good. If you can't be good, then get on here and change a pixel. Change 1 pixel. Because you could be changing the world. And remember that, we talked about suicide a lot tonight. We're not being flippant. Your little pixel matters. 1 dead pixel in this stands out. People miss you. You don't realise it. You didn't know you were going to miss Reckful. I didn't know Reckful was going to be important to me. He was just one of the other streamers. I watched Asmongold more than I watched Reckful. I watched Asmongold. I still do. More than I watched Reckful. I didn't know he was going to be... Now that he's gone, it's a void. It's weird, isn't it? You think about that. Anyone out there, hold on. Don't quit out, hold out, because you don't know, it might provide... You don't know that people aren't going to miss you, and you don't know how that feels until it's too late. So, yeah. So, you be good, my little puckos. I keep saying it, so you be good. I'm going to deaf out now and go and do whatever. And tomorrow, YouTube, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. I should start telling you what it is in American time. Should know. I've got the facility. We'll say 3 because it's later, so it gives me some time to get ready. 3 GMT. Well, you need PM or AM, don't you? PM, 3 PM. You need to specify. So, because otherwise they won't know, will they? And it won't make a difference. There's 2 kinds of 3 o'clock. So that's tomorrow. I should be on YouTube at this time in your local time. At whatever time this is in your local time, I'll be on YouTube at about that. It's early in the morning for America, isn't it? What would be late in the afternoon for America? Right, getting home from work, having your tea, about then. 10 at night? 10 at night? No, wait, that's me, my time. Hey, hang on. Your time is 8 in the morning, is me in the afternoon. But if I went on to you at tea time, it'd be 3 in the morning. 2 in the morning. I can't broadcast at 2 in the morning just to make it better for you. Can I? Just so it's better for America, right? 2 in the morning. That's not going to work for me. It used to. That's ironic, isn't it? When I started doing the ASMR, I was up at 2 in the morning every night. But not now. I try and get to bed for that time. That's my bedtime. It's not going to work. So I'll be on at this time. Around about this time. Somewhere around there-ish and onwards. And tomorrow what we're going to try and do is find out who wrote the Bible. So that'll be easy. Probably only a 20-minute stream. You be good, my little puckos. I'm now going to export this to YouTube. Go and not walk the dog. Instead, just wander around the neighbourhood on my own. And people are going to say, are you that fella that always walks? I've been walking that dog, not just this dog, but a previous dog, for some many years now, some excess of 10. And they're going to say, why aren't you coming around? Where are you? They're going to miss me if I'm not here. So bear that in mind. See? Bear that in mind. You be good, my little puckos. I've said that enough times. So many times, you just ignore it now and you water off a duck's back. Water off a duck's back. Casing the cottage, yeah. I'll go and start breaking in, taking other people's dog for a walk. Returning with it after 20 minutes. There you go. Let's had a little toddle around the block. Brought the poo back for you as well. Not a burglar. You be good, my little puckos.